starry night, a clock tower stretches high above the city. Its face reads 11:59 and 59 seconds, the second hand frozen in place as time stands still. The world is alive. Streets are filled with parades and ballrooms continue dancing. Together, we gleefully celebrate in silent anticipation. We all know the truth. Eventually, the clock will strike midnight, and with it will arrive a whisper of darkness. For tomorrow brings an ominous age of battle and discovery. Welcome to Fabled. And welcome back to another episode of the Ink Table Podcast, a Lorcana podcast where a group of fellow Illumineers gather around the metaphorical ink table and share their table talk with you. So if you enjoyed lore, art, a sense of community, comedic banter, or just all things Disney, then pull up a seat and join hosts Dylan Bailey and Preston McNair as they discuss the Fabled experience thus far and a look ahead at what lies in the near future.
I would say, I feel like I start every episode by saying it's been a long week, but after today, it's definitely been a long week because it's been nuts. But welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Ink Table Podcast. Well, again, just like you heard inside our intro, we're pulling up a few seats here this week because we are back on our monthly cadence, and this being our September episode. We have quite a lot to talk about before we get into it, but real quick, a little bit of housekeeping before we continue on. One, if you've been in the Discord, we've been visited by a special person, and that person being none other than the Curator. And Dylan, would you like to break us down as to why the Curator was in our Discord?
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, the Curator is this mystical being within the Lorcana universe who was kind of Yin Sid in a way, almost the original, I don't want to say owner, but the original curator or upkeeper of the Great Illuminary. And they happened to stop by our Discord channel to lead fellow Illumineers within a ARG. What is an ARG? That is a augmented reality game, and typically they're played a little bit in person, but being the Ink Table and as diverse as we are with fellow Illumineers from all over the world, from different parts, this was a really unique and cool way to bring everyone together. And this ARG was more of a, think of it as an escape room almost. Lots of puzzles and puzzle solving, and it was really neat. The Curator would pop in every now and then and just drop a bunch of riddles and clues and puzzles, and then wanted the Illumineers within the Discord to put their minds together and work together to try to solve them. But at the same time, it was a race, so there could only be one winner. So we would like to formally congratulate Ripley within the Discord, who was the first Illumineer to actually finish the ARG and solve the final puzzle. And this was really unique to watch. We had anything and everything from Morse code to Caesar ciphers to solving tanagrams, even taking coordinates within like latitude and longitude and placing them to find out that it was a location within Walt Disney World. And then in the end, we had a actual audio file that you had to listen to and decode. Well, this audio file, while a lot of people thought it was Morse code, was actually a spectrogram. So you could listen to this and it wouldn't sound like anything. But if you plugged it into a spectrogram, and the audio itself would form an image, and the image was letters, and it actually spelled out, "I claim my seat," backwards. So not only did you have to figure it out, but then you had to realize that the audio itself was backwards. And Ripley was the first one to do that, and they were the first to name their seat at the Ink Table. So they garnered the role, or the first person within. I mean, we're gonna try to make this a yearly thing, I think, but they were the first person that can now call themselves a champion, like the champions that we're going to see in Whispers in the Well. And we look forward to crowning some more champions in the future. We gave out some promos as prizes to just say, hey, thank you for playing along and thank you for being part of the Ink Table.
it was really fun to
Really?
see that all like break down entirely. But no, the curator did make a special delivery yesterday to our local game shop. So, but don't miss out. Join the Discord so that way you never know whenever the curator is going to pop back in. Because I have a feeling it may not be too long before the next appearance. But if you want to retrace the entire steps of the ARG, all of it is inside a dedicated Discord server that the curator managed himself. So all that will be there if you want to retrace the steps to see how our community. How long did it go on for? About a month ish, couple weeks.
I think so. I honestly, I thought it would go longer, but
They
I
just
mean,
they
all these
kept
guys
cooking.
getting, yeah, they kept solving all these problems and just busting through them left and right. So, I mean, I guess that's what happens when the curator only spends 3 hours making an entire ARG, but that's okay because next time we'll have to up the difficulty. So, the more
It went on
minds
for
that
long.
we have working on it together, the quicker they'll get through it.
Yeah, it went on. So second piece of housekeeping before we kick things off, a lot of Fable to kind of pulse check. But we do want to give another shout to our last episode, our So Shiny episode with Disney Dad Canada Mike. One super fun episode. Dylan and I talked about that afterwards at League the next Saturday. We're like, that was just a super fun episode. Mike's going to be catching up on this because he's currently at Disney and getting on the Wish soon. But you all loved that episode because that's by far one of our most liked and one of our most viewed podcast episodes. And not only that, you all watched a lot of that as well. Like we saw, we saw watch time, the audience retention going through the roof. So we see those little things in the audience retention. So thank you all for supporting that episode. And also, it's kind of sparked a lot of discussion in our Discord. So the collector corner has been popping off. We've had a lot of people do some of these collector things that Mike talked about in the last episode, trading in bulk and getting in-store credits and liquidating and trading off what they don't want to get what they do want. So that's been really fun to see spark off. We saw people get cards graded through tag and everything else off of that. That conversation has continued on. So join the Discord. Link's going to be inside the description. You can find it on all of our socials, all of our descriptions and whatnot. It is active daily, and we're having so much fun talking with everyone so far. But we'll definitely we'll probably the curator channel will probably still be around for a little bit longer. But if y'all want to retrace your steps, or those that are in the Discord, be sure to check out that channel. You can see the whole path of that progression.
And if I
But
can, real quick, Preston,
yeah, go for it.
Mike, I know that you'll be listening to this sometime in the future because, again, you're at Disney World and taking your first trip on the Wish. Genuinely, thank you. Thank you for being part of the community. Thank you for everything you can do or that you have done for us and with us. And happy late anniversary.
Oh yeah, it's. I've been following the Instagram stories. I'm living vicariously. I told him not to pay for the internet on the ship. So we get the Disney World Instagram stories, and I was like, don't pay $200 for Wi-Fi on the ship. John, you better not either. So he's shaking his head no. But Fabled. We are now 2 weeks into Fabled, 2-ish weeks into Fabled. Pulse check because we're going to talk a little bit about Sealed. I know that typically we record right after Sealed. This episode's coming a little bit later, but from a general synopsis, we'll break things down a little bit. How are we feeling with set rotation, what we're seeing at our local shops? John, I'll actually start with you. John, how are we feeling now that Fabled is well into circulation?
I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to ask for three for rotation because I have not settled on a deck that I can find that I like yet. I mean, Sealed was fine. I didn't get to participate very long in the first Sealed. I only got to do 2 of the 3 matches, and then I had to bail. But you know, Sealed was kind of cool because it was kind of fun to see old cards that people haven't played with maybe ever, and they were all set 1, set 2, and they were like, oh, hang on, I don't know what this card does. It's like,
Right.
oh yeah, okay, well, sure, fair enough. It was like yesterday I played the Mickey Mouse, and Matt was like, oh, I haven't seen that card in so long, I totally forgot about it. The 3-drop Mickey Mouse. He's
Was
like,
it the vanilla?
yeah, just the vanilla one.
Yeah.
That's he was like, I had forgotten that they even made that card. It was like, and that's the kind of stuff that's been fun. But I don't know. It's for me, it's taken a little getting used to, because the decks that I normally run, a lot of the stuff got wiped out of them. So it's been trying to find that balance again, of something that's fun to play yet can at least hang. So far nothing has hung. So
what's the ink combination? We'll go and combine that in here. What's the ink combination you're looking at?
I tried last week I did a blue steel allies deck. That didn't do too bad. This week I did a amber steel giant Mickey deck. Never once did I get to play Circle of Life or the giant Mickey, because it just couldn't hit. But 2 of my 3 matches were against Powerline with Max Goof, and it just, I was pushed as a board wipe almost every time. So, and I just couldn't get ahead of steam to remove anything. And once they get Powerline and Max Goof out, it was over. There was no way of stopping it, because it was just a constant roll of songs and removal and control. So, and it controlled me a lot. The first match, I did not score. I did not get 1 lore on the board, because most of the time, 95% of the time, I had nothing on the board. So the entire match, because as soon as I get it out, it would be a Mother Gothel, or it'd be or a B King Undisputed and stuff. It just every time. So I don't know. I'm thinking of some other stuff to try this week. I still have my old pirate deck with some new cards in it, so it may be next week. It may be the old. Let's just whack away at things and see what happens.
No, that's fun. Was it the Necromancer? Like trying to bring things back? Okay.
Yeah, trying to bring things back. And it just, I couldn't get it to work. Not against Powerline anyway. Sure. Even the one match that I did win was because I got lucky, and in my opening hand I had 2 Tianas in there. So they got more concerned with the Tianas, and I could actually do something. But after that, it didn't work. Didn't work the way I wanted it. Now, who's to say it may not the next time? It is luck of the draw. And some of those hands I had were pretty bad. Dylan can attest to that. He was sitting next to me, and I was like, yeah, look what I drew. I got nothing.
Opening hand with 3 strengths and a giant Mickey. It's like, okay, so you got a 10-drop uninkable that you're not going to be able to play. You have 3 strengths, yet you're going to have to start inking them, and you don't want to ink your strengths.
And had no characters on the board to even, get anything out of the strength. That was the thing. So, yeah, it went downhill fast. When it goes downhill, it goes downhill fast, is what happens.
We're still in discovery, is what it sounds like. Dylan, pulse check, ink combination. What's up?
I feel a lot better about Fabled as a set than I did coming into Fabled. I know that sounds strange, but it's like, again, we all know that there was a lot of discourse from a lot of people within the community saying that they were worried because of all the reprints and everything else. But I think that the reset, we have went back to the fundamental core structure of Lorcana at its base and its roots. You've brought that up a couple of times within the Discord, and they really did hit this red button. Yes, I think I'm still in that discovery stage too, because as John said, a lot of my favorite cards and a lot of my things that I like to build decks around no longer exist. They have been rotated out. There's some things still there, and we might try some things, but I'm also struggling to get some of these newer cards, and maybe I don't need them, but I think everyone has an excitement right now to try out and play with the new Powerline and Goofy movie cards, and even the new Scar and Jasmine and stuff like that. I would love to do a Sapphire Steel ally deck with support. I think I've may have showed that off before, playing in with the Scar, because at the end of your turn while he's exerted, then you take chosen ally character and you can draw cards equal to whatever their strength is. And I just think the idea of Scar already boosting the strength of an ally, having support that you can pass around onto an ally character, and then just turning Scar sideways to draw half of your deck, would just be a really fun thing to do. I mean, we love drawing cards. So still in discovery. Maybe it's the lack of new cards. We'll see. But as of right now, I have been playing Emerald Amethyst. It was started as more of a control deck, trying to play with the max goofs, and I've moved away from that a little bit, and I'm really digging the moving damage aspect of it, whether it is the Bell Mystic or Madam Mim Elephant, one of the only remaining bounce package characters we have who can also heal themselves by removing damage at the start of your turn. So in a way, even more powerful than the Bell Mystic that you only get to move damage one time. So I really enjoy that and playing with all the evasive characters. I think I may have only ran this ink combination one other time, and it was after I discovered a combination that you can do with Gazelle, who when you play her gives a character evasive, and then I was using her to give the 3-drop Arthur evasive that he could just quest and bounce her back to your head. It's been a few sets since I've played this.
No, it sounds fun. And remind me with the whole like passing support. I know we had like a pain, we had a panic, but did a lot of the cards where like it got a certain bonus or there'd be lore or something like that based off the number of strength? Did a lot of those cards get rotated out? Or I think
Yes. So that was actually an idea that I had going into this was I was going to try to play off of those with the pain, the panic, and Pete, I believe, from Rise of the Floodborn, where once they have or they reach a certain strength, they quest for an extra amount of lore, and those cards are no longer there. Or maybe I'd be trying Emerald Sapphire like everybody else within the Discord.
literally we almost need like a dedicated Emerald Sapphire like Baja Blast corner for the Discord community because
Yep.
we have a lot of folks that are theory crafting. That's another big benefit of the Discord too, is people right now are just figuring out what to play, and it's fun.
What about yourself, Preston? I mean, what you got going on? I know you've been playing some fun, unique stuff.
Yeah, so I have not, and we'll talk about the literal elephant in the room a little bit later, but I have not touched Blurple since Fabled. Ironically, of
Stuck to
course.
his word.
And I was like, "Yep, I've not touched Blurple." So we have 3 decks right now that me and my wife are playing with. My deck right now is a Ruby Steel power line. At our local game shop, we actually have 3 power line decks, and we'll dabble on this a little bit so far, but we have a Amber Ruby power line, we have a Green Ruby power line, and we have a Steel Ruby power line. It's fun. It's worked out. I've made a few modifications. It's not necessarily a very challenger heavy build where like, we're relying on moose shoes and sheer cons. I will say though, it just playing those power lines on curve 2, 3, shift 4, that it's very strong, and I think we're seeing that in our local community. That those power line shift lines is crazy. Power line can sing everything except for the mob song, so it's a lot of fun. It's weak. It's weaker against a little bit more late game decks, I feel, but I'm happy with where that is right now. But I'm feeling good about it. Like we'll talk about the pack opening experience, but this was a set where I was kind of going into it, and then it's like as it happened, it's become really fun. I'm very much like Dylan, where there's newer cards that I still haven't acquired, but there's a lot of older cards that are kind of becoming a staple, like Clarabelle, where I have 0, and that's kind of a little bit of a reason why I'm not really playing Emerald right now, is because we really don't have a whole lot of good card draw. Or we have card draw on Emerald, but we just don't have access to them here. But it's been fun. There's some really fun deck archetypes. I'd say right now, we have pretty good diversity in color representation locally. I think a lot of other shops are seeing that. People are just experimenting, and that's what I hoped would happen with Fabled.
So, question about your Ruby Steel deck, real quick,
Sure.
and I think this is kind of a question for you and John, and we've talked about this slightly a little bit, but with Ruby characters now having the Singer ability, and we're seeing a lot of Amber Steel decks go low to the ground, more aggro here recently. That's always been John's bread and butter, is the Amber Steelsong decks. Do we think that with the addition of Ruby Singers and Powerline, that, especially yours, the Ruby Steel archetype in the past has been very challenger heavy, now has that option to become the new Steelsong? You have access to all the removal, and you still have Singers.
Yep, we got strength, we got really good removal. I think the new Steelsong is Ruby Steel, personally.
I do too. I totally agree. I mean, because literally Powerline is Naveen and Ariel in one card. I mean,
Yep.
the bread and butter of it is, I mean, you play them, you sing a song, you look at the top 4 cards, and then you play a song for free. That's Naveen. I mean, that's Naveen and Ariel in one card. That's a lot in one card.
Yeah.
And you lost Zeus, but then you still have access to things like Be King Undisputed.
Yeah.
And from Ruby.
Being able to sing that is nuts.
But with
truly.
with Steel, you lost Zeus, you lost Let the Storm Rage On.
Let the Storm Rage
You
On.
lost
Yep.
you even lost let me think. I'm looking here.
Grab Your Sword.
Grab Your Swords, Whole New World. I mean, you lost all your heavy removal. So
yeah. It's Powerline is a card that I think definitely needs respected if it's out. Like, are there counters to it? Sure. Like, it's
Sure.
we'll talk about the state of the inks a little bit later, but being able to sing something with Powerline and then hit that what was it, Beyond the Horizon, like I thought card draw was going to be an issue, and I'm not having any issue with card draw, especially whenever you combine docks and stuff like that. Again, from a Ruby Steel perspective, I built it with aggro in mind, but yeah, I think it's shifted, and I think it's causing Ruby Steel players traditionally with Mushu and Shere Khan to kind of rethink things a little bit. So it's weird saying that Ruby Steel is the new Steelsong.
It's the new Steelsong. Yeah.
I stand behind it. I'm having a lot of fun with it, more importantly. I think it's just a unique thing. And Powerline's weak. I was playing against my wife's aggro deck last night, and she got beast out, and Aurora or someone else was slapping it and taking rare of it. So it's still weak, with all due respect. But the thing with Ruby Steel is I'm playing the 3-drop red Ariel that gives evasive, and being able to shift that. It's pretty wacky. We'll have to. We're going to make a note. We're going to talk decks next episode. I think that'll be a good time to talk about what deck we've enjoyed. But I think a big part with Fable, before we can enjoy these decks, is we have to open product. And there was a lot of products opened that weekend. Probably not as much as usual, but the pack opening experience has been really good. And it's weird saying that with so many reprints. And we've seen a lot of very interesting data, not only from the community, but with our own unboxings. But Dylan, I think you were the one that said, I could be wrong, but is it kind of a track record that there's a higher probability of pulling a mechanically new card in a more rare slot? Is that what I heard? Or
yes.
How does that work out?
So the way that it works is if you actually break down the number of legendary cards between mechanically new cards and reprinted cards, it's 50-50. So therefore you have a 50-50 shot to pull a mechanically new legendary card. So, I mean, the math's not all there, but it makes sense. Whenever half of your legendaries are new cards and half of them are older cards or reprinted cards, you still have that 50-50 heads or tails. But
Yep.
as you dwindle down and you get to things from like the commons per se, when you open a pack, I believe there is 6 common slots.
Yeah.
And I don't have the exact numbers, but out of all the common cards in this set, very few of them, in comparison to reprinted cards, were actually mechanically new. Just to throw some stats up from one of our unboxing videos, our very first unboxing video we did. Now, if you take those 6 different common slots that you can get when you open a pack, not including that foil at the end that could also be a common or whatever, you just do your base 6 that you know are guaranteed to be common cards. Now, you have those from 24 packs, something along the lines, I believe it was 144 possible common cards that you can pull. And out of that first box, 9 of them ended up being mechanically new cards. And not all 9 of them came from those slots, because a couple of them came from that foil slot too. So might as well say less than 9.
Right.
Out of 144 were mechanically new common cards. Yet as you go up in rarity to rare, super rare, legendary, even enchanteds, you're more likely to pull a mechanically new card at those than what you are common and uncommon.
I think that's why the pack opening experience has been so positively, revealed by people, is because whenever you are opening a pack, you're more likely to see those. I mean, I'm sitting on 3 circles of life right now, and I think the only reprinted legendaries I have of all the ones I pulled is, I think, Stitch, a Maleficent, and I think that's it. Like, I really haven't pulled that many new legendary cards, all things considered. But have we seen the packs where they're all reprints? Yep.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that, again, it kind of goes back to what we talked about with Mike, obviously. Grow your collection responsibly, is I think the phrase that we've coined in the Discord. But yeah, you get one of those packs, whether it be a league pack or something like that, and you're just like, oh, like this kind of hurts a little bit. It's like, oh, there's my 19th Verana that I have no idea what to do with. Like, it's weird. It's still a lot of reprints though in all the bulk. Like, it's a lot of bulk.
But then outside of the statistical pull rates, I mean, because the pull rates, we don't know the numbers from, or they don't actually show those or tell them, talk about them. But outside of us saying, yeah, you're more likely to pull a mechanically new legendary versus a common, I think that they really did ball out with these new rarities. They knew what they were
Oh,
doing.
oh yeah.
And the epics and the idea of an iconic, and even the art of the legendaries themselves, also play a big factor into the pack opening experience, because these epics are way more common we thought they were going to be, I think.
Yep.
And anytime that we see shiny in a pack with a lot of reprints, we still immediately get excited over the epics. Even no matter what you end up doing with them, we still get super excited about them. The enchanted art is some of the best art that we've seen out of any set. And then the idea that an iconic Mickey or Minnie could be in any one of those packs is just super exciting. No matter how many of these cards you already own.
Right. It's like whenever you pull the iconic, you're like, everything else doesn't matter at this point. Like, it's there. And we'll talk about that too. But oh my goodness, it was beautiful. But they cooked on the new rarities, but the enchanteds though, we had a lot of enchanteds pull for this. I feel like we had this conversation with, what was it, Jafar, and
Yep.
we had so many. I don't have, we don't have inside our notes the official tally, but I'd say we still had at least 7, 8 that we know of sold from our stores, or our stores, but our home stores.
Or local
Uh,
area. Yeah.
yeah, local area. Yeah, just from 2 stores are probably 4 or 5. But so Dylan, any exciting pulls from your sealed product, your uh, box, trove, what have you?
So I got a trove in a box. all we got this time. Besides our regular sealed events, we had quite a few epics. I think we had Epic Aurora, Epic Standout, Epic Goofy, and Elsa. But the one enchanted that we were fortunate enough to get in our box was a enchanted Lilo. It's a
That's
pretty
fun.
cool card.
The alien buff Lilo.
I think she's good, but she'll definitely be better, and that'll be a card that I think gets a lot of play in a few sets when Winter Spell comes out.
Whenever we have all the cousins rolling
Oh
up.
yeah.
That's fun. So on my side, I was happy with the epic Elsa just because I think that's probably one of the more cooler looking epics. But in the Trove, which shocked me because we have not pulled a enchanted out of a booster box in probably 4 or 5 sets now. We didn't inside our booster box, but the Trove, Enchanted Beast, chef's kiss. It was actually my wife's chase, so we were pretty happy about that. She didn't know what was going on. She like flipped her cards around. She's like, "Hey, look at this rare card or whatever." And then like I see like the gold behind it. I'm like, what's that? What's that? Because I was like, okay, there's no shot. It's no way. There's an iconic. I was like, there's no way. So I was like, it's a Circle of Life or Enchanted Beast. But it goes back to what Dylan said. These are some of the best the gold in the nameplates, like they're fantastic looking. The beast, the gold roses, and oh my gosh, was happy
I
with that.
think we talked in the past where you even asked the question to Greg or somebody. Maybe it was it Greg Miller? Maybe during one of the lorecasts where you actually asked one of the questions that he responded back to, where it was like, "Hey, these new iconic cards, is that gold foiling and stuff
Yeah,
a concept that you got from the Brave Little Tailor Mickeys? Is it the same for the Enchanteds?"
that I don't know. I might need to go back and rewatch that, but it wouldn't surprise me, but I can't say definitively. But I think it was the artist showcase that I asked that. I don't know if it was directly related to what I asked or somebody had asked previously, but we know the Iconics have that, but it wouldn't surprise me if the Enchanted don't have that because there's so much gold. I think does every Enchanted have gold touches to some degree?
I believe
Hmm.
so.
I'm gonna have to
Every
go
one
back
of
and
them
look at
has
that.
very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, they're beautiful cards. I think these are going to be some of the most highest valued Enchanted we had. But John, any pulls?
Yeah, a few. I think. Well, I'll start with my trove. My trove had nothing in it. I mean, not even a legendary in it.
Interesting.
It was one of the worst troves I have ever opened, and I've opened several troves. So that was kind of disappointing. I think box wise, I have opened 7 boxes worth of product. I think maybe
Fabled?
maybe 6. Yeah.
Where'd the other two come
I only
from?
knew of 5.
You only knew a 5, didn't you? Yeah, you only knew a 5.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm talking about with the packs from sealed
Okay.
events and the
Okay.
You're
and stuff
Yeah.
like
including
that.
the
I'm
number.
not saying I bought 7 boxes. I'm just saying I bought I bought 6. That's what or 5 or bought 5.
You
That's
Not
holding
what I
out
bought.
on
seven,
us, old
six.
man?
Yeah, no. Not to give it all away, but if you watched the last video we posted, I did get the Max Goof Enchanted. I think overall epics 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've pulled 9 epics across all that. Still not seen a Brave Little Prince Mickey. I don't have a one of those, and I don't have not one of the legendary Elsas. I haven't seen either one of those out of all those packs. Those are the two legendaries. Usually, there's always at least one legendary that I don't get, but never has been 2. But with so many reprints, it is what it is. So, but
No, gotta watch the unboxings.
yeah, there should be 2 more coming.
Yeah, we
All the
got
other
to.
packs didn't, but
No, we got 2 unboxings up on the YouTube channel. Dylan and John, that's their thing. They unbox all the product. Dylan does a great job with the overlays. So look for that commentary and whatnot. It's 2 more on the way. But now that we've obviously all around good pulls, we saw Eye to Eye pulled, we saw Powerline pulled, we obviously saw the Iconic pulled. We didn't see it pulled, but we'll
Genie
talk
pulled.
about that. Genie pulled,
Genie and a
Corella
Corella.
pulled. Trying to think. I think that's kind of all that had come to top of mind right now. So all in all, a great thing. But one thing that's really interesting is leading up to this, we knew that Ravensburger did come out and they did say that Fable product was going to be sent in waves. Some stores were unable to have their pre-release events because they didn't receive enough product. Some stores were, but they received a little bit less. But one thing that I'm finding interesting is apparently troves. Nowhere, at least in our local community, about a 50-mile radius of us, no troves on the shelves, according to my friend in another city. I think our local game shop was out of troves, so I haven't really looked outside, but outside of local game shops. But are we seeing that scarcity of product come up a little bit? Like I'm not seeing. I'm still seeing individual blisters, but I think troves is the only thing standing out to me. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough.
I haven't seen that. I stopped at several Targets just to see what they had, and they were packed with troves and cards. But that was in northeastern Ohio. So it's a little bit bigger up there. Now, the one store that I did stop at that I usually stop at in Akron, they did not get any product. It wasn't for the fact that Ravensburger didn't send it to them. It was they did not sign up for the Play Hub in time and missed that email, so they did not get to redo their shipment for the launch. So they had zero for the launch event because of a mess up by that. If they had paid attention to the email, they would have known to redo their order with the new Play Hub stuff, but they didn't. But I haven't had a problem seeing too much. Now, my friend down in Georgia, he said they had product day one. They have had none since. No Walmart has it. No Target has it. No nothing. So I don't know what that says about anything other than it seems like it's very random and sporadic.
I think the important thing to remember right now is the order in which the waves are being distributed. We had the LGSs receive them during wave 1 to make sure that they had product for pre-release. Then again, we're only 2 weeks removed. When did it actually release in big box retailers? Because that was the second wave. The third wave will go back to LGSs. So if your LGS does not have this product yet, or you're not seeing troves at local game stores and stuff, it's because that third wave hasn't been distributed yet.
Right.
And side subject of all of this, and we alluded to it, multiple people have alluded to it as well. We've kind of hinted or theorized that this may have been engineered, or I mean, who are we to say that, right? But at the same time, we were like, man, this could easily be like situations we've seen in other TCGs in the past where it was a mechanically engineered shortage in order to create FOMO. I don't think that was the case. I think that all of this is happening organically. I think that Ravensburger, hearing our thoughts, hearing our voices, knowing that we all stood up and said, hey, we're going to buy less product. I think they may have produced less product. And I know for a fact that from personal experience, I have listened to and I have heard both online and in person multiple local game store employees and store owners talk amongst themselves and say, hey, this product or this set is different with all these reprints. We're hearing that our customers or our consumers are going to buy less product. I think we should order less product to come to the store because we're not going to sell through it. So the fact that all of that culminated and bubbled over, and then these pack opening experience we hyped up and said was absolutely amazing, and people are filling that everywhere, and everybody's chasing these iconic cards of these beautiful enchanteds. It organically created this shortage in a sense, and this idea or this sense of FOMO because everybody wants Fabled now, and now there's just not enough product. So I think now that it's out, and we have proven that we will buy the product, that Ravensburger will go into overdrive producing more, and these waves will come. So again, if you haven't got them at your LGS from wave 3, just be a little patient. They'll start showing up.
Yeah. It's like everyone, even including us in the beginning, we're like, we're not buying as much product. And now it's like, oh, wait a second. Like, it's actually fun to open this product. And then now it's like, it's like the community signaled that we weren't going to be buying as much. And then now it's like, oh, psych, we want all the things now. So that's
Yeah.
literally what's happened. So
We did this to ourselves.
oh yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. We did this to ourselves. Like, oh wait, it's actually fun to open packs. Yeah, stay patient. Product is on the way. But one of the things we talked about in our last episode with Mike is we were going to be very curious about the price of some of these mechanically new cards, and we'll talk a little bit more about the collector's market, the singles market, in just a little bit. But there's a few things we want to touch on right now. There's a few cards that obviously are coming at a very large premium right now. Scar specifically, and I'm going to look it up right now. Scar Finally King that Dylan was talking about previously. I'd say, would you all agree that's probably one of the top 3 or 4 most sought after mechanically new cards? I would say.
I think so.
Definitely up there. Yeah. So that is going for
Scar
Ally decks. I would agree. I think it's up there. But we are looking at, what is it, $15.75 for a Scar. This is down from, it looks like, about $25 to $20 ish. So we're kind of quickly racing to the bottom. But again, we have a lot of elephants in the room, and we'll talk about the elephant in a little bit. But good old Dumbo. I'm going to play a game with Dylan. Dylan, Dumbo, guesses on just a vanilla Dumbo right now. No foil, just standard legendary. Without looking at our show notes.
standard legendary. Without looking at our show notes. Last I saw the foil was the one I was really paying attention to. I saw it up to 80. I want to say probably about 60 for the normal.
So Dumbo, the most expensive card in Fabled right now, is going for 65 US dollars normal, 81 cold foil.
Yep.
So we'll talk about the reasons why and why we think that is, but it's an expensive card.
Shout out to Dan. Shout out to Dan, one of our fellow Illumineers who pre-ordered. Was it a playset of foiled Dumbos or just one? I'm still not sure. At $70 a piece, and I was like, man, what are you doing? You haven't even opened product yet. Who knows? Maybe he did pull some Dumbos, but price-wise, $70 for foil Dumbos were 2 weeks removed, and now they're up to $81. He saved a little bit of money, I guess. Saved $40 right there.
I traded my foil Dumbo for an Enchanted Pongo, so yeah.
There you go.
And that Pongo literally is $81.
Yeah,
so
it was an even trade. Yeah, huh?
It was an even trade. If you have a Dumbo, get yourself an Enchanted. But yeah, it's and I don't want to over rotate on this because we are going to talk about iconics and epics, and Dylan's going to take us through a market watch. But I see the price of a very good card in Amethyst, and I look at the price tag and I go, oh, like it. For a lot of people, $65 to spend on one card is a lot. And like I'm feeling lucky with my 2 Dumbos that I pulled on launch weekend. Like
I don't understand it.
I don't get it either.
I have 2 Dumbos that I pulled, and I am running both of them in this Amethyst Emerald deck that I have been playing, and Dumbo's not the centerpiece of that. I mean, maybe it's because I only have 2. I don't know. But he's not the best card, to be frankly honest. And we're so early in to set rotation with these cards. And I'm just, what's the price of Half Shark by chance? Do anybody know that?
It was in the 50s.
I know it's probably
went
down.
It is now.
Half Shark is now $39 US. That's down about 15
Dumbo,
per peak.
Dumbo is double the price of a half shark.
He's $20, $15 to $20 more than a half shark.
Right. And half shark is tried and true, proven what he is worth, what he can do, what he's capable of. We're so early in, we haven't even had our first DLC. Yeah, we've had a few competitions and stuff. Even within those, how many have Dumbo in their deck lists that are taking top and placing high within these tournaments and stuff? What has he done to make I love Dumbo. It's fantastic. I hate the fact that Dumbo costs this much because that increases the amount of money that I'm going to have to trade for or spend. And by God, that Enchanted is my chase card. But because the base standard is this price, that Enchanted Dumbo, I think he may be the most expensive Enchanted this set for sure. In comparison, I'm not sure what he is. See, it was like 300 something last I looked. My
Right now on
gosh.
TCG. 10 listings on
Can't
TCG.
do that. See, yep. See, I won't get that chase card unless I pull up myself for sure.
Traded for an iconic. That's about halfway to an iconic right
Just
there.
I want someone hop in the comments, please. Explain to us, like we're a bunch of dummies. Why does Dumbo cost this much when he hasn't proven anything yet?
He's a good card, but I just don't think he's worth $64. In watching what little I've watched of the competitions recently, I just don't think, and I've talked about this with a few other Illuminators locally. We are having a very hard time understanding his price, right? His market price, we should say. It's not like Ravensburger's controlling the price of this. The market price of a
Yeah,
Dumbo.
no, it's us. We set the prices as as the player base, the ones playing this game, what we think it's worth. Oh my gosh, this sounds like crypto. Every
Yeah, literally.
so
It
whatever
stonks.
we think, yeah.
It stonks.
So if it's us and we're the ones setting the market, then who is it? Like this feels like GameStop all over again. Like,
Dumbo.
please, someone explain to us why Dumbo costs this much.
Good old Dumbo. Uh, Moving on though, it's still in the topic of singles, the iconics, the even bigger thing in the room. So, one, I want to make sure we aren't going to miss it soon, but or talk about it later on. But see, so if you haven't seen the shorts, I mentioned this in the Discord, we normally don't promote our short form content because we just publish so much of it. It's clips from it's clips from the podcast. We've actually been doing a little bit of like IRL, like, original content. And we did have a local Brandon who did pull the iconic Mickey there himself. It wasn't at League or anything. He bought a box and it was just there. Again, thank you for sharing that with us because we got to see that in person. Before we see an update on the prices, what do we think about the iconic cards? Because it was sharp. Dylan had a very unique critique about the iconic, though.
Yeah. Again, thank you, Brandon, for showing it
Yeah.
to us. And it was actually Brandon's idea. He was like, hey, maybe
Mhm.
this would be a cool card for you guys to see and showcase and show off for the world to see within this short that we created, and took the time to finish opening the box. Immediately posted a picture of it into the collector's corner on the Discord for everyone to see. So that was
Yeah.
pretty neat. But seeing it in person, the gold foiling again, immaculate. Fantastic. I see the mini. But everything about this card was beautiful until you get to the actual iconic logo itself. And the iconic logo, these iconic cards, maybe it was just this set. I'm not sure if it'll just be this set or future iconics as well, but it had this silver look to it. I mean, we talk about all this gold foiling, but the icon was silver. And for whatever reason, it blended into the card so much that you couldn't even see the iconic logo there.
No.
I didn't like that. But then John had an observation built around that. It was like, hey, maybe that's completely intentional. This is an iconic card that is completely supposed to showcase the art. Maybe they wanted to go above and beyond and make it to where that logo was seamless with the art so they can showcase more of it and show it off.
Fair. kind of like like it's still noticeable, like it's still there, but it's just chilling at the very bottom. And not to break the whole art illusion, because I mean, truly, it is a work of art from top to bottom, like just full stop. It is gorgeous. Again, just like Dylan said, we have yet to see the mini. I will say this though. I like the red on the Mickey, but I have yet to see a mini in person. But I just think the gold on the mini, I like the mini a little bit better. And I know a couple of folks have that opinion too. I would be incredible to pull either one of these. But I like the red in the Mickey, but the mini, just the gold, I think it hits a lot easier on the eyes in a sense. So that was fun. If you haven't seen that, go check it out on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever. It's one of our most viewed videos ever. I think we're at 5,000 views on TikTok and I think 3,000 on YouTube. So we're at pushing 10,000 views altogether. It's nuts. But prices. In our episode with Mike, the collector's edition of the show, we both stood at $750. We'll start with Mickey. What do you think? I'm the one that has the webpage pulled up, but where do you think a Brave Little Taylor stands right now?
Last I looked, he was
Reprint.
still I think it was above $1,000, or right at $1,000 or above $1,000. He hadn't really decreased below that, and honestly, I don't think he will.
No.
I don't think that with Enchanted Elsa from the first chapter being around 900, I don't see this iconic Mickey with it being a higher rarity decreasing lower than $1,000.
Yeah. I will agree with that. I think we did see about retail release, he did dip in the 900s briefly. But as of right now, there are 6 listings for $1,350. So oops, we were a little off on that prediction.
And this is all new, completely
It's all new.
new.
It's
We had
uncharted
not a
territory.
clue.
It's all new.
What's Mini at?
Mini, on the other hand, we did okay on Mini. We're still off, but we did okay. As of right now, we have 11 listings from $851. So $100
That's not too
off.
bad. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we say that's a lot of money, but
It's a lot of money. That's a car payment. That's 2 car payments. That's a mortgage to some people. Part of a mortgage
it's an
nowadays.
electric bill depending on your
Electric
house.
bill, yeah, truly. So yeah, Mini at 851. I agree with you, Dill. I think we will not see Mickey go below 1,000. I do not see that happening. Mini, I think her floor will be 750, and I do not think she'll go below that. She may never hit 750, but I don't see it going lower than that. She may it just depends. You know, we'll see what happens whenever we're 6 sets from now, and these cards are floating around. So. The 850 is a little bit more dissectable. Trade up to it, Dylan. I know you're halfway there with your in-store credit at the shop, but briefly though, so that was the iconics, the epics. I think the epics surprised us a little bit. Some of the epics, for those again who don't know, the epics are those who set between legendary and enchanted. And I forget how many they had. They came out with 3, 6, 9,
16
12,
or 18, something like that.
16 or 18. Some of these have done fairly well in terms of this. So let's reset this, because this has actually been a really, even 2 days ago inside the Discord, I think Ripley, they were asking about this. Ripley pulled their first epics and they went straight to Collector's Corner, and they were asking, what are we doing with these? And I don't know, like, Dylan, are you playing with these? Are you just putting these in a binder? What's up?
I just traded all of mine in.
Okay, yeah.
I followed
my problem.
Mike's. Yeah,
Here's my question.
I just followed Mike's advice from the other day. Honestly, there's 3 different things you can do with these.
Yep.
You can stick them in a binder because they're shiny.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. Play with them and bling your deck out.
Also cool.
Or go trade these in because they do have some value, but they're not enchanted. Go trade them into your LGSs or trade them around to the people that want to bling their decks out so you can get some cards that maybe you don't have.
Yep. I agree with that. Like, again, we it's been back and forth. I'm seeing more and more people play with these. I'm seeing standout being played. I'm seeing B King being played. But the most expensive epic though right now is $20, and that being Aurora, which makes sense given her prominence in the deck or in the in gameplay. I don't like to use the term unplayable because all cards are playable, but she's a little bit more relevant in princess decks, so it does make sense that she.
Aurora is one of those cards that Lorcana has this thing, and we've talked about it before, is if you find that perfect mesh of cards that are viable, like you're saying, Aurora is viable within the princess decks, but also the art and the character alone. Yes, she's a princess, but the art on that epic, I think everyone is in love with. And it's no wonder she's the most expensive epic. She is the perfect blend and mesh of art meets viability.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that there's still a little bit of an Elsa tax. Like she's not seeing a whole lot of play, but she's still sitting at 10. B King at 14. So, yeah, good majority of these
what's Cusco at?
Cusco's at $11. So
okay, because last time we talked about epics, just amongst ourselves, Cusco was at 14, and I think he was like the second highest epic. Interesting.
Yep. And right now the lowest one is Ursula at $3. So, and of course that's the one I pulled. So naturally that'd be the one. But yeah, the epics, yeah, I see myself doing some trades in the not too distant future.
But just a quick, let's see how we're going to run this. This might actually turn into a separate video, so let's focus up. Taking some advice from Mike, and also stealing kind of a little segment from Board Kingdom Mike. We're going to go over a quick market watch, but this isn't the type of market watch where we're going to see what's up, what's down, what's on the rise, what's falling off. Consider this a PSA. There is a fantastic opportunity right now within this game that we love, and a lot of us have given flack to reprints and rotation. But I am here to tell you that it's not all bad, because reprints and rotations have done something amazing. They have created a opportunity for us to trade in some of these older cards that we're now getting reprints of, or we can't play with any longer unless you're going to play in Infinity, and still get value out of these cards. We won't go over every one of them in particular, but first and foremost, Strength of a Raging Fire. Strength of a Raging Fire came out in set 2. Okay? It was reprinted in this set, and the only difference in this card is the number down on the bottom. There is not alternative art. There is not a rarity change or anything. It is literally just the number on the bottom corner representing what set that it was released. Looking at it, as of right now, the set 2 Strength of a Raging Fire is $4. Right around $4. A foil version of that is $14. Then you go over to set 9. Set 9, it is setting at $1.77, with the foil being $2.99. If you get a playset of Strength of Raging Fires in set 9, people, do not be afraid to go and trade in or do whatever you got to do, sell on TCG Player, eBay, or whatever, those set 2 strengths. TCGs, for whatever reason, not only do people want to bling their decks out. Foil is a great way to do that, but another fantastic way of blinging out your deck is having the most vintage card, or the rarest form of that card. So anytime that there is a older set, for the most part, those cards are going to be more valuable and sought after, and that's why we're seeing such a large price gap between set 2 strengths and set 9 strengths. Moving forward, you have a bunch of legendaries that were reprinted. We have Hades, Alice Growing Girl, who was a legendary before but is a super rare now. If you can get these cards from set 9, don't be afraid to get rid of your old ones. The biggest one for me is Maleficent Dragon. You were about to get Maleficent Dragon in set championships. You have a reprinted Maleficent Dragon in set 9, and we have Maleficent Dragon from set 1. Set 9, let's talk about her first. Her base card is $1.46. And honestly, to me, better. It's got the legendary whatever it is, the new security foiling down on the bottom. She's embossed. She has that new legendary treatment that we've gotten since like set 5, I believe, in Shimmering Skies. Could be wrong about that. And her foil is at $5.49. Now you compare that to set 1 prices. The base is $4.48, and that foil Maleficent Dragon from set 1, $33. $33 foil
from the
card.
first chapter.
First chapter, Maleficent Dragon foil is $33. If you want to bling your decks out, bling them out, people. But at the same time, I repeat, do not set and be afraid to trade in or do what you need to do with some of these older cards that have been reprinted or that you're just not going to play anymore. Which brings me to some of those that are foils in general. We'll talk about some like Lawrence. Lawrence was reprinted. The Lawrence cards now from set 9, foil Lawrence from set 9, go for 73 cents. Lawrence from set 2, $2.79. That's almost a $3 card. And I know I'm saying that, and it's like $2, $3. That stuff adds up. I promise it adds up over time. And if you're setting on a bunch of bulk,
literally just got hundreds of dollars of store trade-in credit, like truly,
it adds up, and you're helping your stores out too because now they have singles and stuff. And then if you want to talk about stuff that was rotated out, again, we won't go over everything. Just go look them up, especially foils. But foil rabbits. Foil rabbits are $5.58. When are you going to play a rabbit again? And maybe you already have a playset of normal rabbits. And do you really, really need the foil to bling out your deck? If you're that type of person and you want to bling your decks out, by all means, do what you got to do. I get it. It's shiny. But if you're to the point where you care more about getting cards in the future or getting some of those cards that you don't have now, especially when maybe you can't get troves or something of Fabled, this is a great way to do it. Foil foxes, $7.88. Here's a big one. Hiram Flaversham. You know that little card that we used to be, well, love-hate relationship with?
Love-hate.
One of the very first cards banned in all of Lorcana? That foil Hiram that you can't even play in Core Constructed and haven't been able to for a long time, $10.22.
Yeah, that it adds up. Like
I think just yesterday at our league, I walked away with $411 of in-store credit. And every store is going to be different. Yeah, it was 70%. Typically it's 60, but for the month of September, our store is being awesome and giving us an extra 10%. I'm trying to take advantage of that. And pennies add up to dollars. And dollars add up to being able to get cases for free. And that is the goal. So hopefully at the end of this, when all is said and done and Whispers in the Well is released, I will be able to get a case, which I've only ever done one other time, and I won't have to pay anything for it.
That's the goal. And Dylan and I literally had this conversation yesterday because our last game had ended. We were just sitting to wait for others to finish, and we were literally talking about that. And it even had me thinking, like, oh, like, obviously, we're not saying go liquidate your collections and whatnot. Don't do that if you don't want to. But if there's certain deck archetypes that you're just not interested in, you got to think about Infinity, because we do have that Infinity weekend coming up. So you might want to break out the Diablos, ban list pending, or you might want to break out Hiram or something like that. But it's a perfect combination of what we talked about in our last episode of taking what you have and what you don't want to get what you do want, whether that be going for trade-in credit for a case. Or maybe there's an Enchanted at your local game shop that you really want. Go take some foils, go take some cards. A lot of stores will have at least a minimum card value. They're probably not gonna take in a 10-cent card and give you.
Yeah, they're not gonna take in all your bulk, I promise.
No.
Just what bulk they have. I think ours is $2. Has to
That's
be worth
a
at least
good
$2 before they take it in.
Yeah,
I think it's a decent amount.
It's a decent amount.
And that's a lot of cards.
60 to 70, a lot of cards. And now that Dylan and I have been playing this game for over 2 years now,
Yep.
We have amassed quite the collection, and I'm looking at my closet, which we have a very nice organized system that we just did, and I'm like, we don't need 10,000. I literally have it
No.
counted here. I have 10,000 cards, give or take, probably a 5% margin of error on that. I have 10,000 cards in my collection, and I'm like, I do not
let
need
your
that.
bulk collect dust. All
Yeah,
it is. Don't let your bulk collect dust. If you can do something with it, if it's just going to sit there and you're collecting it, cool. But if you have cards that you're not playing with, that you're not blinging your decks out with, and you have extras of them, don't be afraid to trade them in. Do what you got to do with them. Then moving on from that, again, 2 weeks removed, we typically talk about sealed, and we're still going to briefly talk about that. But here's the reason why. And you don't hear a lot of podcasts, and you don't hear a lot of Lorcana members, for the most part, talk about certain formats. And I don't get it. Like, I do, but I don't. The main thing here is core constructed. That's the one thing everybody plays. That's the big potato in the room. Sealed, Infinity, and other limited formats, whether it's draft or whatever else, we love to talk about. And we're going to continue to talk about now and over time because they are some of our favorite ways to play the game, first and foremost. Secondly, Lorcana is predominantly made up of casual players. Hard to believe, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're like, no, it's not. But that's because we're online. You're listening to a podcast because you went out of your way to find a Lorcana podcast because you love this game. You're as deep in this as what we are, and I'm sure you're keeping up with the meta and everything else in between the same way that we are. But the casual player they love these other formats and stuff too. And with DLCs, CCQs, and I don't know, when we had Gen Con just now that we went to, PAX Unplugged is coming up, and these other conventions and stuff are coming up that Ravensburger is going to be having a part in. These formats are things that are there for all Illumineers and all players, not just core constructed, not just triple deck constructed, and other things as such. And I think that's also part of the reason that we saw such a big, massive wave in these collection quests and how well that they performed. But these limited formats are a fantastic way for you to get promos that might be exclusives to these conventions and stuff. But also a great way that if you're just doing side events at DLCs, that you can turn around, get tickets or whatever you got to get to go to the prize wall and go get prizes like different playmats or shirts or hats or even some of those promo cards that you might not be able to get any other way. So let's talk sealed just for a second. We'll keep it nice. We'll keep it brief. We're not going to go too in depth about it. It felt good, I think. I mean, we were leaving, and I think we had this conversation. Like, you and your wife had the same conversation in your car ride home that me and my wife had, where
funny how
you
that
looked at
happened.
each other and you were like, "That felt good."
Yeah, it was
Why?
refreshing. Like, I don't know if it's because, just like John mentioned, like we're familiar with all the cards and we knew what was there and what to expect. But probably one of the most fun sealeds I've probably ever had. It felt good, and everyone, at least on the team side, or at least spouses or whoever, everyone did great to some degree. Like, it it was refreshing. It felt like we hit the big red button. Did I still feel weird about pulling all these reprints? Yes, but it
Sure.
was still fun to play with.
And we'll talk day one. Day one, I went 3-0. Wife went 3-0. My wife went 2-1. Her game three, she lost to your wife. That's 1, 2, 3. We were first, second, third,
Yep.
right there. I think you were close there
Oh, that
to
was
top
not
8. We
close.
we
No,
had two other no, not day
no,
one, but
I went
um, but
1-2,
we had a
but
couple of other
both,
regulars.
yeah, yeah. Like, a lot of the other regulars did really well. First night I did not. I was super happy with how I played, but I lost. Or my total matches was 1-2, just because it came down to like 1 or 2 turns and just not hard on the
Right.
card. So I couldn't be mad about it, because the wife. I think my wife, that was the first time she's ever got first technically in a sealed, and I'll never forget her reaction. She was like, they said, "Oh man," and she's like, "Cool." and just going over and like cut her cards or whatever. I was like, oh, don't be too excited, but everyone did really
Then
well.
day
It was
2,
fun.
we
Yeah,
we went and played Sealed at our actual because the first night's always at the sister store, and then we come home to our LGS, and we play on that second night on Saturdays after release. And we performed really, really well. I think me and you both went 3-0 the second night.
You technically got first because of the OWR, and Dylan was about to
Right.
rice roll. He's like, "There's one pack, let's dice roll." I'm like, "No, like you got first, like 5%, like no." So I had to shut that down because Dylan. I was like, "No, you got first. You got it."
I
But
have issues with the play hub and the things that the way it works, and I know that everybody else has their own issues. My issues with the play hub at our local level are don't trust the play hub. I think that once people start dropping and it starts losing results from previous matches and we can't go back and look at previous rounds for whatever reason, what happens to all that data? So then I think it's
yeah,
messing with the opponent match win percentages and stuff like that. And I just like you went 3-0, I went 3-0, but I don't trust the overall percentages at that point.
and like the I think we had mentioned this briefly, but after that, we had one person drop after the first round. But both my matches 2 and 3, we looked at like the records, and I think there was a moment where Dylan and I looked at each other and be like, that paired weird. Like that, it was just I don't know what the specifics of that was. It was just like it paired very weird. It's like, oh, like going up against this person, or now the person has nothing to do with it, but this record, this account with this record. I don't know. I would agree. It seems like whenever people drop things go weird. I don't know. It's just the vibe we get. Like
I I hope Ravensburger listens to this because I mean, again, maybe we just need to submit something on their official Discord and let them know. But I don't hear people talking about this. And when we go to Gen Con or you go to these DLCs and stuff, is there or is there not a rule where people just you don't drop? Like if your opponent doesn't show up and it's a 10 minutes and your opponent's not there, you just win the match. Whereas at local game stores, you have people that show up and maybe if they don't perform so well and they lose their first match, they lose their second match, they're like, well, there's no sense in me playing. I'm just going to go ahead and drop. Maybe they don't have that worked out, like the whole dropping system, because they don't expect it to occur the way that it does.
I know Melee that wasn't an issue because that happened at DLC. First match, my opponent didn't show up. I got the match win. The opponent was dropped. Don't know how that works in RPH.
That might be where a lot of the problems are coming from that they're having here recently.
Maybe.
Either way, that's on their end. Another big thing, we're going to talk about our sealed pick, or like what is our top MVP sealed pick. There's a lot of cards to choose from this time around,
Oh,
but I want to point one thing out. I want to point one thing out in particular before I show off my card. The second night at our home store when I went 3-0 first, all 3 games, every match I played on the draw. There are a lot of people that say whenever it comes to sealed and comes to these other formats, don't like it because it comes down to a dice roll. I'm here to tell you that it's not. Yeah, it might play a role, especially when your games are by 1 lore or 2 lore. But whenever I can go 3-0 and every one of my matches was on the draw, win game 1, go into game 2, my opponent chooses that they still want to go first and still ended up winning those. Went 2-0 all of my matches. I don't know. I mean, I don't get the argument that sealed is purely about the dice roll.
Yeah, there's 2 elements. It's what you pull and what you play with ultimately, and then there's I feel like yeah, like if you have a very low curve, then obviously being on the play is a very huge benefit. But yeah, I don't know where that argument is. Is it like a old school TCG thing? I don't know.
But with that being said, my MVP, going all the way back to Rise of the Floodborn, whenever I played this card, was Rhea Headstrong, a card that does not get much love within Core Constructed, and that's why Sealed is cool, is because you can show off and you can play with cards that don't get love anywhere else. But Rhea Headstrong, can pull her up here, is a 3-cost inkable 2/3. She only quests for 1. She has the ability Note to Self, die. So during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may ready this character. And if you do, she can't quest for the rest of the turn. Rhea was an awesome pawn. She was fantastic, especially in a sealed format that had a lot of characters with support. And you know how much I love support. But it came to a point where my opponent could get cards out, and I would let them quest. But then Rhea was essentially used to board wipe my opponent because I could challenge into one of their 1-drops, potentially take no damage, or allow her to survive. She would get to ready back up. She couldn't quest, but then I could go ahead right after that and have her challenge into whatever else they had on the board and just keep my opponent at bay.
That's so clever. I remember you flipping that card around to me. You're like, this card, like this is the one, like Smeagol, like my precious. Like you were really excited about Rhea.
Very underrated, I think, in a format like this where it comes down to card draw, and if you can't get or can't draw a lot of cards, how do you keep a board presence? And if
Right.
you can swing your board state in comparison to your opponents with a card like this, who, I mean, that's a double whammy. You're taking potentially 2 cards out for the price of 1, sometimes maybe even more. As a 3-drop, when there's not a lot of removal, fantastic card.
Mhm.
What was your pick, Preston?
So there's a lot of cards that stood out. A lot of really great combos, but one thing, the theme that I saw between both of my sealed events was I saw a lot of Timothy Q Mouse. I saw a lot of small Dumbo. So both sealed events, I was able to actually pull off a turn 2 Timothy Q, where if you have a character with evasive in play, he gets +1 lore, and then playing Dumbo the Flying Elephant on turn 3 with evasive, which has the aerial duo ability, which gives another character evasive to start your next turn. So not only could I quest for 2 with Timothy, I could give him evasive immediately after playing Dumbo. So Timothy generally was safe that early on, but also Dumbo having evasive to answer the bigger Dumbo. You had small Dumbo taking out bigger Dumbo. If I was able to like stand out it or give it some sort of strength buff, but it was a fun combo that I saw both nights in a row, and that's the one that stands out. There was probably another card or two that stood out, but we've talked about it countlessly. Evasives are obviously a very high value thing to have in core, because unless you don't have ping damage or some other evasives, they're just going to sit there. But keeping Timothy alive was very good. Yeah, I don't know. It was a super fun combo. John, any from you?
I don't even remember what I got at Sealed, to be quite honest with you. It seems like it's been a month ago. I was sitting here going, I don't even remember what I pulled at Sealed, so I can't tell you. I can't answer that question. Sorry. I don't remember. My old man brain apparently is failing me. I'm sitting here looking through cards going, I don't remember if I played any of those during Sealed or not. Sealed was so weird, especially the first night, because there was some issues that I'm not going to go into here, but so it was like I had to drop early and stuff like that, and I don't even remember the next day. I don't.
You were distracted. You had other things going on.
Yeah, I was distracted, so I don't even remember. So I'm not going to even answer because I can't even make up anything because I don't remember.
Best sealed experience.
It was up there for sure. It was definitely up there. I going back to Rise of the Floodborn, which may have been first sealed that we actually did, because I didn't do one for first chapter until Gen Con, and we all know how that went. Maybe it was that reset button, but I think this is the most fun I've had in a sealed event, and the best that I've performed in a sealed event, so to say, since Rise of the Floodborn.
Yeah, it was a really fun. It was a really fun sealed experience. I kind of wish like Fable came out before Gen Con, because that would have been really fun to have that sealed experience. But yeah, it felt good. Like I know I said I struggle with Reign of Jafar sealed on release night. It was nice to not feel too I mean, it was everything was. I think the main thing, and this will be my last point here. I think the main thing is that the one drops were so unique because there's so many one drops that were either a 1/2 or sometimes a 2/2, and they were just very low health one drops. I don't even know if there was any one drops that had 3 willpower. If there was, it wasn't a whole lot. But to me, I think that was the thing that made people play differently, was the fact that the 1 drops and 2 drops were relatively weaker. I don't know.
I don't
What
know,
do I
because
know?
my argument with Raina Jafar was a lot of your one drops were weaker and that they either hit for 0 or 1.
Maybe I'm getting confused and I'm thinking that was
I think
Fabled.
they were stronger this time. I think they
Really?
were
Okay.
stronger this time than they were Raina Jafar because you had the 2/2s and then you had things with Challenger +3 and stuff like that this time around. This was quicker. This was Raina Jafar was
Games are quicker.
slow.
The games are a lot
I don't know.
quicker. I don't know. Anyway, so I mentioned a lot about elephants in the rooms. This is a topic that has been at the core of the community for really the past 2-3 weeks now. And we're going to dissect it a little bit, but we had this originally called Introspective on Current Core Play and Events. I'm going to call it State of the
Mouthful.
Inks.
State of the
State of
Inks.
the Inks. Thank you, Dave, in the Discord for reinforcing that. So, State of the Inks, where are we at, especially with Fabled? So we are coming up. It's wild to say this. We are coming up on not only set championships beginning in October, but we are also coming up on our first Disney Lorcana Challenge events for season 2 in Bologna in early October. And we got Milwaukee in late October. So we are on the cusp of some major events. There's already been a major event that took place today with the first regionals invite going out. But State of the Inks. Obviously, going to rip the bit. Amethyst is Amethyst. It's very popular right now. But before we dissect, did we anticipate Amethyst and Steel to be where they are today?
As individual inks?
As
Or are you talking
individual
about the
inks
ink
or
combination of
together,
Amethyst?
or individual or together. Did we expect the top 2 ink colors, if you will, being Steel and Amethyst at Fabled launch, and now 3 weeks into Fabled?
Yes. I
Yeah,
wholeheartedly think that we did. Amber Steel was already proven with maybe not Steelsong, but we saw that it was beginning to go into that aggro Amber Steel. We saw that even with the removal of a lot of Steel songs, that it was still hanging around in some way, shape, or form with different ways and unique ways that it finds to have card draw. Also plays into Amethyst, which is one of the only inks that has pure card draw.
you're a card draw. Card draw that lets you establish a body on the board as well, I think is a huge thing. That, like Genie, for example. So I remember before Fable, we were actually at Gen Con, and I remember there was some leaks going around, and I remember my wife messaging me, and she's like, "I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a few cards that is going to make Blurple insane." I was like, "Whatever, like, Blurple's Blurple," but here we are. Not going to talk specific. So, spoiler: Amethyst and Steel, probably your 2 most popular ink colors right now. Not going to talk necessarily about the event itself, but we have a few notes here on the decks that were played at probably the most significant event that has happened in Fabled, because the CCQ, for those who are not tracking, there was an event in Denver put on by PPG Events. It is not a DLC, but it was Ravensburger supported, where promo cards for DLC Season 2 were available for redemption. Playmats were available for redemption, and also the very first North America Continentals invite was given out to the first place winner today, like literally less than 3 hours ago. That's why this event had a lot of eyes on it. But from a state of play, Amethyst is extremely popular, but we'll break down the decks. From that CCQ, a total of 88 Blurple decks. Which, if you would have told me 4 sets ago it would have been like this, I would have been like, no, you lying. Like, there's no way. But 88 Blurple, 63 Amethyst Steel, 47 Emerald Sapphire, 38 Amber Steel, and then 8 Sapphire Steel, 7 Amber Emerald, 5 Ruby Amethyst, and 5 Emerald Amethyst. So Steel and Amethyst have a very large representation, not only in the more competitive side of things, but also locally as well. There's a lot of people playing Steel, Powerline decks, for example. You have green or Emerald Amethyst, and I'm trying not to call green blue. I'm going to stick with the thematics, but Emerald Amethyst. You still have very strong. You still have those colors being played, but a lot of people, and there's been a lot of hoopla recently over, oh my goodness, this is happening. Why is this happening? And from a state of the ink conversation, right now, it's Blurple is, I think, is the deck to beat right now if you are playing in a competitive environment. But also, you had Amber Steel go in a mirror match for the first place for that invite during the CCQ. So we're going to try not to talk about these as, decks per se, but more so the ink color itself. But a lot of people are immediately drawing comparisons to the Sapphire problem that we had back in, goodness, when was that? Arcasia's? Azurite?
Yeah, maybe it was
Oh, goodness gracious.
around
Hold on.
there.
I'm going to have to Google this. It was 5 months ago.
Right before Greg Tito came.
Right before Greg Tito came. It was 5 months ago. So what would that be? That would be April? Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, a lot of people are comparing this to the Sapphire problem we had before, where we had a high amount of decks playing Sapphire, and then we got
70%, I believe.
70%. And Tomotoa was $70. Now we are looking at Amethyst at, again, same ballpark percentage, 70% at $70 Dumbo. This is something we've talked about a little bit of our Discord. We're seeing a lot of chatter online. Dylan and I have talked about this ourselves, but I think why is it happening, I think, is a question that a lot of listeners are going to be interested in. So, Dylan, from your perspective, why are we seeing this happen? Kick off our conversation.
Again, from my own perspective and from what has been told in the lorecast and stuff, he hit the reset button. That's all it boils down to. I absolutely love to see this. I mean, they wanted to reset the quote unquote meta. We look at what decks were popular and not popular before. Our strongest ink combination and inks that we had prior to Fabled, Sapphire and Ruby, especially Ruby Sapphire DKP.
Yep.
Out of those top decks that you just listed, how many of them were actually Ruby Sapphire decks?
0.
Okay, and we see very, very little Ruby decks in general.
5.
All right.
At CCQ.
5.
Denver.
Do you know what the lowest or the least used ink color was in the World Championship and the DLCs before the World Championship? Emerald. Now it's one of the top. I know that we're talking Amethyst still, but even Emerald, all of our people, all of our friends and fellow Lumineers over in the Discord who absolutely love Emerald Sapphire and have been riding its coattails, 47 decks at this CCQ Emerald Sapphire, and we also see 5 of the Emerald Amethyst. We have Amber Emerald. Like, yep, Emerald's making a rise. It all boils down to the fact that this was a reset. We lost cards. We don't have the same cards we had before. And again, I think me and you talked a little bit before the podcast started. Yes, people are comparing this to the Sapphire issue.
Mm-hmm.
I am comparing this to the first chapter and Rise of the Floodborn. Because we saw and we felt the same way about Ruby Amethyst decks. We see some Ruby Amethyst on here still. There's 5. It's still kicking. It's always going to stay around. But Ruby Amethyst used to be the one deck that absolutely dominated these DLCs and these major events, these third-party events for cash money. And it is what it is. As more sets are released, more cards are released, we have more options and more decks will appear. At this time, we're only going to see 3 or 4 main meta decks. Again, meta being what we define as what works. So if we have everybody getting online and saying these 3 or 4 decks are what work, that's all we're going to see. But then later on in Whispers, this could look completely different whenever we get the DLCs and CCQs around that time.
Detectives
And
left and right.
may we not forget DLC Atlanta. Never forget, right? All the popular decks. What ended up winning?
Okay, it was Fairy Dogmother
It's your
and,
boy.
Ember
Out of
Amethyst.
nowhere. Out of nowhere. Amber Amethyst came out and won in a meta that was dominated by Ruby Amethyst and beginning to be by Sapphire Ruby at that time, and even some Emerald Steel that came out in Rise of the Floodborn with Bucky and Diablo and everybody else around that time. And I I don't know. I don't think this is big of an issue, and I don't think Ravensburger thinks this is as big of an issue. And they realize that this is going to happen anytime that you have a rotation and that you lose core pieces to a lot of cards. One thing that sticks out to me the most is the fact that Amethyst is being able to stick around the way it is without the bounce package. We've always talked
That's
about
surprising.
how Amethyst will always have the core pieces.
Yep.
I don't
I
know.
as somebody who played Blurple, here's my take on it. I think there's two reasons. There's one main reason why I think Blurple is, I think, the deck to beat right now, in which Ember Steel did, which is awesome. Let's not forget that happened today. But Blurple had the least amount of cards rotated out in the deck. We lost Friends. We lost Let It Go, kinda. Some people were running it. We lost
Ox.
Mimfox. Like Chernobot, I don't even know Chernobot. Like we lost a few things, but everything else stayed. Elsa, Genie, Iago, Hades, Big Elsa, Monstro, even Anna. We even got a lot of really good reprinted cards. I don't know if Hypnotic Strength was reprinted, but Hypnotic Strength is run things back. So I think that's why I think Blurple is very strong right now, is because I had the least amount of cards, at least top of mind, I had the least amount of cards rotated out. We didn't lose a whole lot. And granted, I haven't played Blurple since the set began. I have it sleeved, but I haven't played it. But I think that's a big cause as to why Blurple is just it's almost perfect right now. It is a very strong deck. You got Into the Unknown, which is insane to sing on turn 3. So I had opinions about this earlier in the week. I did a lot of play testing with a few friends earlier in the week, and I think it goes back to one. I don't think Dumbo's worth his price tag right now, because I haven't watched all of the events that have happened, but he's just not putting in a whole lot of work. But I think the main challenge for everyone is asking the question, how do we fix this? And obviously, Ravensburger, I think it goes without saying, they do play testing. I think they are aware of it, and even goes back to Gen Con. I forget who mentioned it. Was it Naomi, maybe, or was it Elaine, maybe? One of them mentioned that there was a meta deck. I hate using the term meta on this show because this is who State of the Inks, but there's another competitively viable deck that we had not discovered yet. And now set
I think it was
rotation
Elaine.
happened. Yeah, I think it was Elaine. But that's probably gone because it's rotated out. So a lot of people are calling for bans. I'm not gonna lie. Whenever we got past week 2, I was immediately thinking, like, okay, like, will they allow this state to enter a DLC? And I don't think card bans are coming. I don't see that happening right away. Now, if we get into whispers and things are kind of this way, maybe, I don't know. But I think the main challenge is, I think we all need to be challenging ourselves of what answers the meta. Because there's never going to be a one cookie cutter deck that answers everything. That's just not a healthy state. If there is, they'll take action. But I think a lot of it, too, is there's tried and trial and tested decks. And I think the comfortable thing is to just hot swap what's legal now with those decks and then go forth. So Dylan and I talked about this yesterday. I think the counter to a lot of the popular decks right now is going to be Ruby. That's
We're
my
seeing it as not very popular deck.
no.
Here with like these deck lists that are coming out, very, very few are Ruby decks. We had 5 Ruby Amethysts. Is that all we're seeing in Ruby?
5 Ruby Amethyst at the CCQ. Now there's a lot of events, but let's just say the big one. Let's just say 5 Ruby decks.
And there's different ways it can go. Let's say, I mean, we know that Amber Steel won. Cool. Amber Steel won. What beats Amber Steel? What beats that aggro? Challenger heavy decks that are going to be able to gain board control and passive lore by controlling the board. Then you throw in the idea of power line, going all the way back to what we originally talked about in the beginning. What is one outside of the Ruby Amethyst and the Ruby Sapphire decks? What core deck did we constantly see through season 1 stay up top along with all the rest? Steelsong.
Yep.
Always there. Always there. So if Ruby Steel is potentially the new Steelsong with the addition of Ruby Singers, maybe Steelsong is still alive and well. You're just looking at the wrong ink colors, people.
Yep. Without going back to what we talked about previously, it's just a matter of figuring things out. It's going to be a good challenge for folks to figure out. I'm very excited for set champ season because I can't wait to see what people cook up. Because I think I am optimistic. I'll admit I wasn't too optimistic about a week ago. Now that I have started to play 2 callers that I haven't played a whole lot, I'm not all doom and gloom that I was a week ago. I'll say that. Like, I think that's a good way. But I think it goes without saying, in the lore cast, I think Greg and Rochelle, admittedly, I haven't watched the full thing. Dylan had to update me on this, but they did nod to what is going on. I think it would be the appropriate synopsis. I think would be a good way. They made a nod.
They have eyes everywhere. I mean, it's like
Always
they always
watching.
post raws. We're always watching. They are completely aware of what the big, or again, quote unquote meta, because we are the ones who define the meta of what decks are up top and what people are playing. But as Rochelle also said in the Lorecast, the meta isn't just what decks are there and what work, but it's the mental mind game of, okay, if this is what works, what can I bring that's going to counter what everybody else is playing?
And we know there's counters. We've seen it. We've seen some of it. So I'm optimistic. I'm excited. I think is the bigger thing. It's a good challenge. It was bound to happen. You know, it's natural. People take what works, replaces what got rotated out. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens, especially whenever we get into Fabled. But again, I think to put a lid on it, the mindset that we had pre-Fabled is no more. We need to go back to scratch. Everyone just needs to start from scratch and just not reinvent the game. But we are all at a level probably the most level playing field so far. You know, still got some things to figure out, but I'm optimistic. There's my
Be patient as these new sets are released. We'll have more answers.
Who knows? Maybe detectives will just be the oh my goodness, and I don't know.
I hope it's going to be so
fun. Quickly on the play.
Going out of all this.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead.
No.
Go for it.
Quick, two things real quick though. The Play Hub. There was a stress test on the Play Hub. Dylan went undefeated until like round 6 or 7. I feel in the Play Hub. Still have yet to see what that exclusive RPH icon is going to be. They did say that they were going to give us something for stress testing, but Dylan alluded to this a little bit with the speculation around things dropping.
Things breaking.
Yeah, things breaking. But something apparently happened in Denver. I still haven't got the full thing, but I guess there was an issue where they had to redo a round after the round was complete or something like that. I don't know. But I still like the Play Hub better than Melee, but we're coming up on some pretty major events. I still like the Play Hub. Pretty. I wish there was an app.
Aesthetic, yeah, it's aesthetically pleasing. I wish it was an app too. I don't think it'll be an app because that's just not what it is with them teaming up with Card.io. And I'll be honest, leading into this, I had heard fantastic things about Card.io and Alestrals and other TCGs that use it. But at the same time, they're not using it to the extent that we have put the stress to the test, not just during the stress test, but just in general on the RPH.
Didn't something happen during our first sealed?
Yeah, no,
Yes.
like at the end of it, both times, both seals, and it
Oh, good
happened
time.
both times.
Okay.
The moment that someone drops breaks, you can okay. So before an event happens, you can go in there and you can drop freely. It is what it is. But once the event starts, it takes whoever it's your LGS or Ravensburger, whoever PPG, past time events for the DLCs coming up. Somebody in charge of things will have to go in and drop players in general. That is the moment that things break, is the moment someone drops. You aren't able to, we still can't. We can go back and we can look at past events and past history. We can go back to that original sealed event and we can see the final round, like the last round. But if we want to see the results and the data from rounds 1 or 2, you can't see it. It's not there because PlayHub just breaks the moment people start dropping.
Yeah. Maybe we do need to go on their Discord and be like, hey, we're noticing this.
There's a pattern.
I do like the fact that we can go back and historically see our events, because that's what I really liked about Melee, was going back to see how I did it, like my first sealed or whatever. And now we have that in the Play Hub where we would go back and see those events. So improvements being made, but again, there's just some weird things happening with it.
And going out of a bunch of news and some ups and downs, roller coasters of here's our high points and here's our excitement. Slow things down just a tiny bit here and let's play something really, really fun. And let's get back to some line card rankings. And I've put together some really cool stuff for you this time, Preston. I hope you're excited. I will send them over to you over in Show Talk. John, the first one I'm going to pull up is going to be the yellow one. The amber one. I don't know why I said yellow. I mean, that still kind of gives it away.
Stick with the thematics.
Yeah. So I will send you over the amber one here, Preston. And it is a 3-cost song, Baby Mine. I know all of our Dumbo cards, Timothy Dumbo, are Amethyst. This one just makes sense for it to be amber with its ability. So again, characters with cost 3 can sing this. And whenever you do play this or sing this, you can remove up to 2 damage from chosen character, and they can't be challenged until the start of your next turn. So protective mother coming in, healing her baby, and making sure that it is safe and it can't be challenged.
So for those who don't know or are unfamiliar, we did this 2 episodes ago where we flipped the script. Dylan rated my wife's wishful thinking of not Powerline, but racer cards being overpowered. But I have never seen these cards before. I will rank them on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being least. What's the terminology? Least.
Yeah, 5 is least liked, I guess, with 1 being like your top card, like you would want this card to exist. Yeah.
1 to 5, 1 being your top card. So we're back to regular here. But Baby Mine. So this without even one, I feel like we're going to get this inevitably, because, and that's something that a lot of people tend to forget, is just because Dumbo is in Fabled doesn't mean we won't see Dumbo in future sets or other Goofy movie in future sets. People think, oh, that's all the Goofy movie we're going to get. No, I want the poetic characters off the Goofy movie. Like I want that type of cards here. But Baby Mine immediately will get my number 2 spot. And the one reason why is Tiana.
Right? Making sure that Tiana can't be challenged.
Yep.
And be able to heal her.
Immediately gets my number 2 spot. If you're able to play Aurora on turn 1, quest, get Tiana out on turn 2. Turn 3, hit something with Tiana, baby mine it. Yeah, immediate. I'll leave number 1 open, but baby mine immediately gets my number 2 spot. Maybe that's a little bit off thematics for me because that's where my head is thinking. But there's a lot of very valuable things that could benefit from this, like Calhoun, for example. Calhoun on turn 2. She has resist, but you don't have to remove the damage. Remove up to 2 damage, and they can't be challenged for the start of your turn. So immediately, baby mine will get my number 2 spot.
Nice. And not all of these cards are going to have flavor text, but that is one thing that I try to add as well.
Yes.
I try to make these as accurate as possible. And the flavor text for this one is actually a line within the song because that's what happens on your song cards. And it is, although some people who scold you, or all those people.
All those same
Dang,
people.
I can't read. Yeah, thank you, because it's tiny. It's tiny on my screen. All those same people who scold you, what they'd give just for the right to hold you. I think they just play so well into the fact that they're not going to be able to challenge you. All those people that want to get at you, they're just not going to be able to do it now.
And Tiana's going to stay on board.
Yep.
Number 2.
Darn. Okay. Next, I'm not even familiar. I don't know if you're familiar with this character at all. This one's pretty unique. This will be a Sapphire card. I'll be excited to see if people know who this is.
I'm going to slaughter the name, or I cannot say it.
Hortensia.
Hortensia. Thank you.
So it's a very unique character.
Very. Like Dylan dug deep here. This goes back to what, 1930? 1927? No. So way back.
Okay. This is Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, who was predated Mickey Mouse. This is his lady friend, kind of like Mickey's Minnie. This is his friend or his partner. So to go along with our Oswald card, we have Hortensia, Oswald's love, because her personality, that's all she cares about, is Oswald. She is a 1-drop, uninkable, 2/1 with support. And then her ability is Dedicated Wife. So this character gets +1 lore if there is a character named Oswald in play.
Dedicated Wife ability. Look, Oswald, you aren't the only one who can go on adventures. So I just had to look it up. Oswald, the card that we have in Lorcana, is a 2-drop. So it's very similar to like the Roxanne power line that we have right now, where you can play a singer. You can play Roxanne, they play a singer. She gets plus strength and willpower. 2/1.
Timothy then play Dumbo.
Get support. I'm gonna give this the 4 spot. Not because I'm not too crazy of a fan of support being on 1-drops because you can't really give support to anything on turn 2. So that's where my brain goes with this. And then you're turning it sideways for the lore because Oswald will be in play unless you keep it ready. So I don't know. It's gonna get my 4 spot.
Understandable. All right, this next one's pretty funny. So we have a Amethyst card, and know how much you love Amethyst.
So we got
This is yep. It's 1/3. This is what you always have. It's 1/3 of 5. That's how this typically goes. But Amethyst Yen Sid, the Patient Guide. He is a 6-cost inkable card, and we only have one other Yen Sid card. I think, and I didn't say it, but I typically do a theme to go along with these custom cards. I think the theme this time, for the most part, was cards that could have been in Fabled if we had a bunch of more mechanically new cards and less reprints. Instead, just being in Fabled would have been fantastic. But this is a 6-cost inkable card, 4/5, quest for 2, a Storyborn Hero Sorcerer, but we have now added the Mentor tag because this is showcasing that he is the mentor to Mickey Mouse Sorcerer Apprentice. And you see him without his hat. You kind of see Mickey there in the corner. This is the scene where the patient sorcerer is coming back and seeing the mess that Mickey has caused. Leads to the first ability, Weep Away the Mess. When one of your broom characters quest, you may banish it to draw a card.
And then Hatless Mentor, your character's name, Mickey Mouse game +1. So immediately, unless we get reprinted brooms, this is going to be an affinity card. So not a whole lot of brooms stuck around. I don't think any brooms stuck around for that matter. That being said, basically giving every broom the Illuminary Keeper ability is very powerful. I'm going to give this I'm going to give it the 3 slot. Just because of we don't have a whole lot of brooms. It's going to be an affinity format card. So it's going to get the 3. Also expensive.
All right. Yeah, it is pretty expensive, but I mean, lots of card draw coming out of nowhere at the end if you have a bunch of broom characters, and Mickey Mouse having all that extra lore, and you could just play a whole broom decks, but add Mickey in as well, especially in Infinity, and using Sorcerer Hat to just continue to look at the top of your deck for more brooms or Mickeys.
Mm-hmm.
Thematically, it
Being
all
able
just
to
works.
filter through.
All right, your last 2 here. And I apologize because I just now lied to you. Whenever I said that the theme was supposed to be cards that could have been in Fabled, because my excitement for Set 10 and Whispers in the Well, I just can't get rid of it. But I'm going to show you this steel card. Chris Horse Collar.
Lead detective.
Lead detective.
Leading the case whenever one of your other detective characters quests, you may draw and discard a card. Naturally, I've now screwed myself again because 1 and 5 is open. So, naturally. So, we are getting detectives. We got Whispers in the Well coming up. Whenever one of your other detective characters quests, you may draw and choose and discard a card. Playing on 4. Depends on what, if we get any cheap detectives, I think is the main thing. If I were redoing it, it would be probably in the 4 slot, but I have screwed myself again, and we'll be putting it in the 5 slot.
All right.
Not because I don't think it's going to be detectives are going to be bad or anything like that. It's just I don't know. Maybe I just play it wrong, but the whole draw and discard a card, it's a May, which is good, but I find myself just discarding whatever I draw. But I guess that's the point of it. You get to filter through your deck. So let's see what's in 1. By default, goes in 1.
Well, I think you'll actually enjoy this. Fun fact about Horus, though, real quick. His entire stat line is the exact same line that you have for the 4-drop Clarabelle and Sapphire, who all your other characters with support gain +1 strength, I believe. All right, but number 1, by default, have Morph. A 2-cost, uninkable, Emerald, Whisper, Ally, and Alien.
What scene is this from? I know. Listen, I know
This
you.
is not.
I know you had like a 30-minute dissertation on Treasure Planet in one of our first episodes. But what
This
scene
is
is
not
this
from a
from?
scene. This is completely custom.
Okay, all right. I
This
was sitting
is
there. I was like, "What is he
completely custom
trying to
art.
do?"
Well, this is a whisper.
Yes.
So again, what we're going to be getting in Whispers in the Well, we have a ghastly glimmer version of Morph, and the background is kind of the Whispers in the Well key art that we see. And we'll go into what these whispers are and their abilities here in a minute, but this idea of this new ability called attach, because to me a glimmer or a ghastly glimmer that is the whispers, they're incomplete, they're broken, their lore pages are ripped, they're searching for something, they're searching for their other half. And again, we'll get into the actual ability that whispers have, but this card I thought would be really cool, this attach to. So you spend 2 ink to place this card under one of your other characters. So kind of like the opposite of a Floodborn per se. That's why this morph he is trying to transform.
Trying to
He
transform.
hasn't transformed yet, but he is trying to transform. because he's a Whisper who wants to be part of that Floodborn package, where before you could put anybody on top of Morph. Now you can put Morph under anybody. And then if you do, you activate his ability, Transformation Realized, because he finally is transformed. So if you pay the 2 and you put this card underneath one of your other characters, that character then gains morphs his lore, his strength, his willpower. So his 1/1/1, they will now gain that as a boost or a bonus per se if he is underneath them.
This this would have got my 1 either way. And we'll talk about what we know in Whispers in the Well so far, because it's almost like it's almost like the opposite of what we know about boost so far. So just being able to take a card from your hand and be like, morph, go forth and boost this guy could be a very nice closer if you are 1 lore short on winning a game. Could make the difference between surviving a challenge. There's no getting rid of it, because
No, I mean, there's got a kind of a built-in hidden cove.
it's a built-in hidden cove that can't go away, to at least with any of the mechanics that we know.
Imagine a Daisy Duck. Turn 1 Daisy Duck. Turn 2 morph. And then turn 3, you attach the morph to the Daisy Duck. She now becomes a 2/5 that quest for 3.
So let me ask you this: would morph have to hit the board first before attaching, or can it attach straight from your hand?
Has to dry. Has to dry for
Has
his
to dry.
abilities
Okay.
to.
That
Yeah.
changes things a little bit, but still probably takes on 1. So it's not like you just can't permanently. I like that though, because you just can't just be like, oh, here's the secret weapon in my hand that you have no way to interact with, and let me just boost a character real quick. So I like the balancing there with that. That's super fun though. I want to see
thing is the
more.
new. Yeah, my new big thing is the Mickey Mouse, that Brave Little Prince that you have. That what does this card read? The specific way it reads is if you have a card
Or
under him, and he gains all of those. Not once does it say if you shift this character. It says if you have a card under him. And it's always struck me in some kind of strange way that it reads that way when no other card is read that way previously, including like any other card that we've gotten. It's when you shift this character, this happens. This is just if there's a card under this.
Yep.
So that makes me think that maybe we'll eventually get actions or characters or abilities that can, just similar to this one, find their way underneath your other characters.
That's fun. Oh, throwing this underneath Hero Hamada.
Oh, for sure. Or like even that Mickey who's what's Mickey gonna get? Mickey becomes a already by himself if he has a card under him. He quests for 4. I mean, I know he gets the Brave Little Taylor stat line.
He's a 5/5 questing for 4.
Quest for with morph underneath him, getting another 1/1/1, so he'd be a 6/6 that quest for 5.
And you know what? It's interesting because it doesn't say, well, this character has another character called Mickey Mouse. So maybe this is just us reading too much into it, but they have almost future-proofed this Brave Little Prince by saying a card under him, not Mickey Mouse, under him. I don't know. We'll revisit this.
Hinted at a mechanic like this.
Yeah. So let us know in the comments or wherever you're listening what your rankings would have been. But this now gets us into this is probably my favorite blind card rankings, by the way. Just for the record, probably my favorite so far. That was really fun. Baby Mine, Morph, Yensid, a lot of fun. But Whispers in the Well, we actually published a video not too long ago about Whispers in the Well products. That video did really well, so thank you for checking that one out. We're not going to rehash everything because we know what the booster box looks like. We know what the trove looks like. 2 main things, though, is that we literally the day Fabled was released, the media assets for Whispers in the Well was updated on their website. And we, got a look at the Trove branding for the first time, which is just you have those glimmers kind of sort of encircling the Lorcana logo on top of the box. But the main ones here is those Playmats. The Playmats were new. They were new as of last Friday. Coming out in Whispers in the Well. We don't have all the accessories yet. Hold on. Am I wrong? Do we have the sleeves and deck boxes yet? Do we see those? I don't think we saw
Go
those.
ask Rebecca.
Right. Let me while I'm talking about
She's
the
on.
Playmats, let me just pull up her Instagram real quick and check this out. But the Playmats was kind of the big thing because one, we got the Mickey Mouse Brave Little Prince legendary art, so just the vanilla art. That's fun. That I'm not a huge playmat person. I have 2 playmats in my circulation. My wife's different. She loves the playmats, but I like the art of the Brave Little Prince. But the Jasmine, could you imagine they did like a foiled version of this playmat?
I mean, that'd be fantastic.
That'd be
And
beautiful.
not to take anything away from the Brave Little Prince playmat, because I think that is the big one that a lot of people, especially within the Discord, are oohing and eyeing at. But Jasmine, I know you're playing the Gen Con exclusive playmat that you won there. But while at Gen Con, you were fortunate enough to pull this Enchanted Jasmine. So knowing that you pulled that Enchanted, what does this Jasmine playmat mean to you?
Oh, I love it. And the art grew on me. Like the more I looked, I was actually talking to my wife about this because we were cleaning over the weekend and stuff like that, and we were dusting our enchanted case, and the art grew on me quite a bit. And I think I really like Raja in this card, and yeah, I'm a fan, and it's a nice play. It's nice art. It's a good pick for a playmat. So I'm happy. I'm happy with that.
Or what'd you find out why I ad-libbed? Did they did
Wait,
they
wait, what
show
is it?
off did you pull up the Instagram and figured it out why I ad-libbed?
Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah, thank you for
Okay,
buying me.
that's
Listen, folks, Dylan and I have done this enough to where like we know when to strategically like research whenever somebody else takes the reign. Sometimes it's baked into the air quote script, sometimes it's not. But no, we do not know the sleeves or the deck boxes. I kind of went through
gotcha.
her
So, more
carousel on
information to
Instagram.
slowly dopamine drip to us over time. Maybe next Lorecast. We'll see Thursday.
I will say this. Thank you, Ravensburger, Greg, Rochelle. Thank you for not talking about Whispers in the Well on the Lorecast before Fable came out. Um, I think that was a big critique. Not a big critique. That was something we brought up in right before Rain and Jafar came out, whenever they were talking about Fable the day before. Thank you for letting the
No
set breathe.
products in hand.
Yeah,
Right. We had no products in hand when Reign of Jafar was being released, and you were already talking about Fabled. Again, like Preston said, thanks for letting it breathe. Thanks for taking your time. I know that
it
this
breathed for
is
a
the
week, just a week,
right, yeah.
but
This
still.
is the shortest turnaround between sets too, and they gave it that time.
Yeah, I feel like it allowed me to appreciate the set release weekend and the first weekend of League a little bit more. I feel like it did. Um, but moving away from the playmats, the big thing, and we're actually going to bring up the starter decks because we talked about this 2 episodes ago before we had our doubleheader, where I have pointed out on the side of the single player deck these foiled cards on the inside, and Dylan had mentioned that these were going to be the Whispers, the new Glimmer type that we have in Whispers in the Well. Thanks to the super high resolution images that we have on the media website, we now have a better idea of one, it confirms that these are Whispers. These cards that have this gold border around them are indeed Whispers. But we did get a little bit of insight as to how the Whisper mechanic would work, or what would be unique about these Whispers. And with Whispers in the Well, they are actually introducing this new boost mechanic. Now, this is nothing official on Ravensburger's website. This is just the community who have maybe enhanced these images a little bit or were able to ascertain what was on the text of these boxes. But let's look at the Simba. Let's look at the Simba from Whispers in the Well. The legendary card. 7 cost, which, whoa, but makes sense because of this boost ability. He's a Storyborn Hero, Prince, Whisper. Boost ability. Boost costing 3 ink. Once during your turn, you may pay 3 ink to put the top card of your deck face down under this character. The ability we don't exactly have. It's something alliance. I'm going to say timely alliance is my guess, but the ability is the important part. Whenever you put a card under this character, which you could accomplish usually using this boost ability, it says reveal. You may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character card, you may play that character for free, and we are guessing that it says it enters play exerted. Otherwise, put it at the bottom of your, and we're assuming deck here. So you pay 3 ink, you take the top, you reveal the top card of your, or I'm sorry, you pay 3 ink to boost it, which takes the top card, you don't know what it is, underneath Simba. And then you're activating this timely alliance ability where whenever you put a card under this character, which you accomplish from boost, you look at the top card of your deck. If it's a character, it enters, you play for free, enters play exerted. A lot of thoughts.
Couple of things. Yeah, couple of things. We're looking at Simba, but there are other whispers that we know of on the packages that also have the boost ability. Boost is not always going to be boost 3, the same way that Singer is not always Singer 3, Singer 4. The boost will be a different ink cost depending on the glimmer and the ability attached to it. Secondly, one interesting fact that, and again, it's just wording, but I brought it up previously. These whispers are the first time that we're seeing cards outside of Floodborns that have that black border where the tags are.
It almost looks like a Floodborn, but it's not.
To an extent. And if you read the boost ability one more time, there's a phrase in there that's very interesting. But it's once during your turn, you may pay whatever that ink cost is, this Simba, for instance, being 3, to put the top card of your deck face down under this character. It's important to remember that we do not know mechanically how these cards will work and how they will play. Typically, whenever you shift a card, that card is face up. Then you are shifting onto it. They have intentionally put the word face down for whatever reason, and over time we will come to learn more about how that mechanically plays a role.
I think it plays a role. I think it plays a role because if you are activating a boost ability, that's going to be the trade-off. You're boosting a character, but you don't know what you send. It's kind of like one jump ahead. You take the top card face down and exerted. So that might be the playoff. Is you get to boost it.
Yeah, you just don't get to see the card.
You don't get to see the card. So that's the trade-off.
Okay.
That's my guess.
Then last thing, one of the biggest things that we were upset about not coming in Fabled and coming with rotations was the bounce package. Could you imagine a world, especially in Infinity, DLC 3 and stuff? Yeah, see, you're laughing, you're smiling, you know what I'm getting at. You have these whispers with this boost ability to where you can boost once per turn, put these cards underneath your whisper characters to gain their effect or gain their ability, and then potentially play a character from the bounce package. We have Mim Elephant now still, and I think we even have Mim Rhino, who I think does the same thing, and then bounce those characters back to your hand. Would those cards underneath that you boosted go back to your hand as well, or would they not because they're face down?
That's going to be a rules thing that we are not qualified
Right.
to figure out. Or
we'll see with time.
Does it go back on top of your deck? Does it go to the
me.
bottom of your deck? It would have to be something in the official rules because it's going to come up in Infinity. Granted,
right? I mean, I figure that it'll either go back to your hand or the face down cards will go to your discard. One of the two, because it was technically never in play because it wasn't face up.
Right. It was never shifted upon. It was just there. And it's like the inkwell. The inkwell is never it's just it's a separate place, just like one jump ahead. So I'm I think the boost mechanic is going to be very interesting, and I think it goes back to what kind of like the theme of this show is. We just have to wait and see what future sets bring to the entire game and how decks play and whatnot. And it's going to be fun to see how boost plays a role. I mean, granted, these are only 2 cards out of however many new ones we're going to have, right? So, uh, it's going to be fun. I think it goes without saying that we are excited for Whispers. We're still enjoying Fabled, but anytime we get a new mechanic, sign me up. Let's see here. 2 final sections before we
Puzzles.
get over to kind of wrapping things up. Lorcana puzzles are out. Plain and simple. Go check out the short. Lorcana puzzles are out. Got one Mickey promo. Shiny. It's not glittery like the Lilo. I noticed that. It's just standard border. So that was something noteworthy. But they were released at D23. All of them are available. You should be seeing all the different ink colors now. What was it? The Amethyst and Steel were
Steel.
Disney exclusives. Yep. But this is something that Dylan pointed out previously in a different show. These ink casters.
Yep, just want to bring attention to it one last time, especially as these puzzles are released, because in the original images that we got, you couldn't really see the full image of what the puzzle will make. And not to spoil anything for those who are actually building the puzzles, but John, I think I put a picture of the still one in there. Not sure how big it'll be. You might have to size it down. But I think it is a great picture that showcases one of these casters. I want to say hidden ink casters, but it's not the hidden ink caster. That one is in the
Don't
Emerald
know who
puzzle.
it is.
But each one of these puzzles that represents a different ink color has a different ink caster in it. The Emerald having the hidden ink caster, Sapphire having Venturo's Gauntlet, the Amethyst having Shanzay's, and the Amber having Martin's. That leaves Steel and Ruby. Once again, last time I'm going to talk about it for a while, maybe. These 2 ink casters that we see, one in Ruby and one in Steel, which you should be able to see in this image here, that kind of looks like a scythe, we have not seen anywhere before. And just a new realization that I had the other day, each one of our 3 Illumineers that we follow do dual wield ink, even though they are singularly representing a different ink color because that is their primary color. They do dual wield ink. Shanzi doing Amethyst Steel, Venturo Ruby Sapphire, Martin Amber Emerald. Arcasia was also and is, I guess, not just also, is an Illumineer. And she also dual wields ink. And we know this from a few certain things. Her glimmers that she uses, like Yao himself, Archimedes, and even the dual ink card Jeweled Collar, I think is a great example of it. And her eyes herself, I think we have a picture of this too, John. But Arcasia herself, behind her mask, her eyes glow 2 colors in particular. They are sapphire and emerald, which again represented by that jeweled collar card that she created from the Maurice card. And that just got me thinking, if Lorcana does a thing and we can look at patterns or whatever, and we know that there are 2 more ink casters we haven't seen yet, and we know that there are Illumineers that Arcasia's worked with in the past, and before our 3 primary Illumineers came to the Great Illuminary, there were 3 that were there before. Arcasia was probably one of them. If she is Sapphire Emerald, we know there's going to be one who represents Steel and one that represents Ruby. I've done the math. That means that we have a Illumineer that will represent Amber Steel to all you aggro or OG Steelsong players. Then we have another that will be Ruby Amethyst.
And what's interesting with this, and not to dig too deep, but the cuffs stand out to me around this Illumineer's wrist. Because if we think about where the Illumineers came from, the Great Illuminary was calling out to regular people, to creative people, to lead like Shanzi, Venturo, and Martin. This doesn't really look like from, I'm going to say, just modern day era, like where the origin of those Illumineers come from. I don't know, except for maybe John, maybe wearing these cuffs and with the jewels and bling and stuff like that. But
Did you wear those
I,
back in your day, buddy?
No. They would be leather.
Okay.
I think this is one of the previous Illuminators. Just
Yep.
guessing.
I completely agree. And
I
even the ruby one, which we don't have here, it's kind of a quill. It's a pen. It
Yep.
just speaks ancient to me.
Which again, I wish Fabled went weird with time, but we didn't get there. And now here we're talking about this other Illumineer that's wearing these medieval cuffs, and I'm like, okay, but like Fabled could have been a great time for things to go weird. But I'll get off my soapbox. I'll get off of it. I thought maybe
Whispers.
white ink, like colorless ink, but then I was like, why would they do that in steel? And yeah, that was my initial thought.
That'll be the
With
curator. The curator will be the master of all ink colors.
set 20. Let's go.
Yeah.
Set 20. Final point. Is Lorcana gimmicky?
Is Lorcana too gimmicky? This is a big question that I've been asking myself recently, and I hate to blast it as our last segment here, but it's just a matter of fact. And Preston sent me this video the other day. It was very interesting. We were trying to keep up with Destination D23 stuff. We knew Ryan Miller was going to be there. I was really hoping that Ryan Miller would show up and we would hear more about Lorcana, potentially stuff coming to future sets. Really banking on the 3 Caballeros showing up and being there because they played a major role in Destination D23. He was there. He didn't really do or say much. He got to sign an Iconic. I mean, that was cool to see him get emotional and sign an Iconic. And I think that was the first time that he saw one that wasn't in a sheet. So that was neat. But he took part in this interview. And we know that Ryan Miller, founder of this game, major part of this game and its growth, he was, I don't want to say recently, but in the past, the recent past, he was promoted from where he was to kind of like leader, I guess, of all of Lorcana and making sure that everything's flowing. And it's I forget his actual title. Preston can look it up while I while I go forth. But we know that he has not worked mechanically on a set since Into the Inklands. Is this man who was a genius whenever it comes to TCG design, worked for Upper Deck, worked for Wizards, and has spent years and years and years redefining TCGs, how they work, and brought this from the ground up, foundation up, stopped. I don't want to say he still plays a role, but he has not been there hands on every day, mechanically creating and producing things that are part of this game since Into the Inklands, which that's when we got locations, right? Here's my thing. Locations were cool. They were cool until they weren't cool, right? I know it's a love-hate relationship. Some people like them, some people don't. Still remember that DLC deck that ran 20 different locations in it. But we also spent different sets just now. As the Right Sea, we had locations. Arcasias, we did not. Reign of Jafar, we did not. Fabled, we have no mechanically new locations, and a lot of them were rotated out. Very, very few were brought back to begin with. Next set, when we go into Whispers in the Well, we're in the well. We're in the Great Illuminary. Will there be locations then? Because if you go story-wise and you have the same argument that we had about Arcasias of the story is taking place on Arcasia's Island, there doesn't need to be locations. Well, the story's taking place in the well. There doesn't need to be locations then either.
Can we get a room?
At this point, it's...
The locations we have room?
Yeah, right? Yeah, I mean, that was my argument in Reign of Jafar. Give us the throne room. Give us the treasury. The places that we kind of got as the difficulties in Palace Heist, we never actually got as locations. All those different obstacle courses that Arcasia had built. So to me, locations became gimmicky. Dual Ink was introduced. Just sat here and talked about how all the Illumineers dual wield ink. Great. We got all the way up to this point where Dual Ink was a thing. We finally learned how to use it. Fantastic. We got it for what, 2 sets?
2 sets. And we were very
Jafar
excited.
and Arcasias? Super excited. Now what? Fabled comes out, very few mechanically new cards, not a single one of them. Even with Singers now being part of Ruby, you did not even like make them dual link or anything. I mean, you could have very well made them Amber Ruby and make the Singer actually make sense rather than just saying, hey, you know what? They just need to be Ruby because they need to be Ruby. We had no dual link cards, not a single mechanically new card. So again, gimmicky. You bring up a good one here. I see you added was the alternative shift. We've talked about this a lot. I really like Li Shang. I
Yep.
know that there's a Olaf and I think Aladdin that you put in the notes here,
Diablo.
who for him to shift, yeah, Diablo. Aladdin, for instance, you discard a location card to shift him. I know Li Shang is you discard a character card to shift him. What happened to all of these different shift mechanics that came out? It may have only been one set that had this.
I
That was
think
it.
so. One or two sets at most. Um, that was it. And that really surprised me because it was like, oh, we don't have to pay ink to shift things now. You have to pay something. One of the more recent ones too, and one that I've talked about with a few other people here locally, is the vanish ability. The
Yep.
the the
Vanish came out. We had very, very few Vanish characters that came out in Arcasias. And then we had a few more come out in Reign of Jafar during the big battle there with him. That was it.
that was it.
Got two
And that was my
sets out of the Vanish ability.
that was my fear, is that I hope they didn't introduce the vanish ability just for Jafar. And maybe that's the goal. Maybe that's the goal. Maybe these abilities aren't meant to stick around forever. And maybe Vanish is like that. But again, we have this whole archetype around illusions. We have multiple Jafar cards that benefit and
Yep.
do things with illusion characters. And now that we are going into Fabled, no illusions, and going into Whispers in the Well, we may or may not get an illusion. I don't know, but it's
Same with Whispers in
yeah.
coming out. Like we know that
Could
we're
be
getting
one
these
there.
Whispers. Are Whispers just going to be in Whispers in the Well? Maybe we get a few more after that, or is this just a one-off, one-trick pony? We have no clue. It seems very, very gimmicky to me, and I hate to say that. And I want to compare this to Pokemon real quick because at the end of the day, Lorcana, although dominated by Disney adults, this is a game that is meant for kids 8 and up. I mean, it's Disney. We're all kids at heart, even as Disney adults. Pokemon is the same way. It is supposed to be pushed towards children and people who just love these Pokemon and Disney characters. And we see that Lorcana is, I don't want to say copying, but they are taking what Pokemon has learned over years and years and years from a TCG that's been around since '96, and they're running with that format and that structure because it works. We see it with the way that set rotations are now working. We see it with their seasons and the way that their championships will end up working and taking place, like the order in which rotations take place. The big difference between Lorcana and Pokemon, and the reason that Pokemon gets away and is allowed to be gimmicky, is because when they are gimmicky, whenever these new sets come out and they add, I don't know, mega evolving and terrestrialization and all this other stuff that a lot of Lorcana players might know about, might not know about. If you're a bunch of nerds like us, then maybe you do. They're allowed to do that because, for one, their game has been around for 20 some years. Two, their TCG, while it makes tons and tons of money, it is also nothing but a marketing ploy for their video games, their anime, and everything else. Say, hey, look at this cool new mechanic that we're adding everywhere to our games and is going to be in the TV shows and all of that. Lorcana does not have that side marketing that they need to do. It's literally just the TCG. So whenever we get all of these gimmicks, so to say, the one thing that these gimmicks are for is the story. The story that people struggle to even keep up with in the first place.
This is where I would have really liked to have somebody like Steve or Ryan or somebody, because this would have been a perfect question to ask at Gen Con of if it's like if we can just know the answer, if it's intentional and it's supposed to be story and thematic, then great. I think we can stop wondering a little bit. But I think whenever these mechanics are brought out, at least as somebody who's never played TCG before, I expect it to stick around for a little bit. It's something new we got to get used to. And then whenever they stick around for 1 and 2 sets and then disappear, I'm like, oh, okay, like that's interesting. But if it's thematic, great. I would love to ask somebody that question and just be like,
And if it is thematic, which I think me and you are on the same page that it is thematics. If it is thematics and it is story related, great. How can we do a better job? Us as content creators, you as Ravensburger, who are trying to showcase the themes of these sets. How can we all do a better job to showcase that theme and these thematics and the story that is actually taking place from set to set?
Yep. To be continued. Maybe that well has a lot more answers than what we think there are.
Maybe
But
so.
maybe. Well,
One last thing, my
go for it.
final thought before we roll out. I completely forgot to mention this. Blind ranking. I hope you guys enjoyed the blind ranking. I know Preston enjoyed it. I did too. I know this is going to be at the very end. Maybe you haven't listened this far. I haven't talked to Preston and John about this. We might make this into another one of those like social media plugs post. I would like some help. We are trying to build a community. We've done a pretty good job. It is fun making these blind ranking things to have Preston check them out. But I think it would be really, really cool to have the community involved in that. So I have a job for everyone, whether you're on the Discord, whether you're listening on wherever you're listening or watching on YouTube. Do us a favor and make some blind cards that are some custom cards that we can blind rank yourselves, and then send them in over to our email, cast@theinktable.com, and then we'll select a few, and then I'll choose whichever ones I like the best. Try to pick glimmers and characters that we don't have in the game yet, or mechanics we don't have in the game yet that we could or would like to see in the future. And I'm going to try to get those in. That way, next month in October, we can do another blind ranking and we can use your custom cards. The theme, as we go into October and we go into spooky season, we are going to have a theme of spooky cards. Let me see your headless horsemen's. Let me see all your little spooky cards that you can make. And we will have a spooky themed blind ranking with your cards.
Email it to us. Drop it in the Discord. Ping us. Just get it to us one way or another. We'll save it.
You'll see them then.
Oh, that's true. I never thought about that. No, never mind. Email. Disregard everything I just said. Email. That's right. I was just thinking about convenient. Listen, listeners. I'm looking out for you. No, maybe a deck kisser. I don't know. Just email it. But
we'll figure it out. Either way, you have until the end of the month to get those in.
Yep. Well, that being said, I think our time at the table has come to an end. I hope that everyone continues to enjoy Fabled. We're looking to come back to the table in October. Set champs will probably be kicked off by then. If you do not hear from us before October, very high probability as such. But enjoy set championships. Break everything. Just break the cards, break the meta. Play with cards that spark joy and just have fun. Build those necromancer decks. Build the goofy location decks, which I'm working on. Have fun, more importantly. And if you pull an iconic, we still want to see it over in the Discord. But just as Dylan mentioned, email those custom blind cards and also any questions, thoughts, etc. to podcast@theinktable.com. Also, be sure to head on out to our link tree, which is linked everywhere. You can find all of our socials, all of our various links to Facebook and everywhere else. On
and our email, Ravensburger, it's on there now.
We'll take a card if you're just kidding. we'll take anything. We'd love to, but Yes, all the links on the socials, the TikTok as well. TikTok is now our most followed platform, which is insane. We're posting short form content on all the short form platforms. Also, for even more Lorcana content, be sure to check out Dylan at Storyborn Dylan on YouTube, and myself, Preston McNair, on YouTube. Also, join the discussion, join the community, even though our time at the table is up over at our Discord. Link will be inside our link tree and inside the description. But regardless of the platform that you are listening on, be sure to consider liking, rating, subscribing to the podcast wherever you are. Please leave us a comment, leave us a rating. It helps us reach even more listeners. It helps a lot more than you can even imagine. So, as always, continue joining Fabled. Bye-bye for now, and there will always be a seat for you at the ink table. Bye, folks.
Bye, guys.
This podcast is part of the Gamers Lounge Radio Network. Get more gaming news and shows at www.the-gamers-lounge.com.